Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. This will probably be my last video for the year of 2025. Hopefully it's out by 2025, but I am doing my manga collection of 2025. How many times have I said 2025 now at this point? But I counted and I have around 674 manga. 67, very funny. This is not including my magazines, my art books and all of that. Honestly, this year has not been a good manga year, I would say, for me. I didn't really pick up as much manga as I usually do, and I didn't read as much as I thought I did. I think because this year was such a big change in my life in terms of I started university and such, so I became preoccupied and I didn't really have as much time to read as much as I would have liked. I ended up just really reading a lot of like manhwas and stuff, but I don't have the physical copies. So this collection is most likely going to be very similar to my collection from last year, but I hope you guys still enjoy. I'm really hoping for 2026 I'm able to pick up more manga and read more of my collection, because honestly I did not read a lot of my unread manga as I thought I would have. But yeah, but I hope you guys enjoy. This is going to be a very long video, so sit back, get some food and enjoy. So we're going to start off with this shelf on the left. So on my first shelf is all of my Heaven's Official Blessing. I also forgot to say that all of the figures and merch on my shelves will not be talked about in this video. I have a whole separate video. It's my previous video, so you can check it out if you want me to just talk about them. I will only be talking about the books that are on my shelves. So first I have, of course, the just regular Danmei volumes, and I do have the special edition of volume 8, which came with some merch and then like that like notebook. But Heaven's Official Blessing was the first Danmei I got into. It was the first donghua I watched, and that's how I got into the whole like Danmeis and just everything. And because of that, Heaven's Official Blessing just has that special place in my heart. I love this series so much. It's so good. I love the romance especially. It's just words cannot describe how much I love this series. I know some people call it a bit overrated because it seems too perfect in the sense like there's no real conflict in regards to the romance, but I think that's just because of how this story is explored, where we have Sherlian, where he's at a point in his life where he's already like dealt with everything, and this is just what happens after, and it's more in the backstories and the past that we really get to see the big conflicts and stuff. I think at the end it does get a little bit silly, but I honestly have no complaints with this series. I love it. I hold such like fondness towards this series, hence why it gets its whole shelf. But yeah, so I have the first 8 Danmeis. Also in this, I'm probably not going to be giving such like well thought out synopsis and stuff. This is just more about my thoughts and opinions on each series, because if you wanted a synopsis, you can obviously search up one that is way better. But very briefly for this one, we're following Sherlian. He's a god who has ascended into heaven 2 times, and this is his 3rd time ascending into heaven. And from there, his ascension caused some damage, so he has to go solve these like issues that have been asked by the people who like pray to the gods. And there's some things happen where he meets Hua Cheng in a different form, and from there it just goes through essentially just a lot of trials and tribulations. That's the best synopsis I can give, because it's not really like a full-on story. It's more just like different little arcs, solving different issues and stuff that has an overarching like issue that you will figure out once you read it. But yeah, highly recommend. I also highly recommend watching the donghua. It's so good. And then here I also have the first volume of the special edition. It is stunning. I love it. Of course I have to put it up on display because it's pretty. And then I don't know if you can see, but it also has like sprayed edges, and I am really hoping that I can get all of them. Of course I want to get all of these special editions. They're so pretty, but they're so expensive. But yeah, just the collector in me really wants to get all of them, of course. But yeah, I just love. And then here I have the first two of the manhwa. So I actually have not read the manhwa. Surprisingly, I only have read the Danmei and I've watched the donghua, but I do want to. I think I'm just waiting to a point where it's adapted enough, because right now we're at the beginning where after having watched it and read it so many times, it does get a bit just kind of dry and not as interesting compared to the later half of the series. So I'm just waiting, because obviously the art is stunning and so it takes a long time for each chapter to get released. But overall, I'm just very happy to at least own some of it, because obviously I'm gonna love it. It's heaven's official blessing. And then here I have these editions, which is essentially the donghua but into books. So this is not the English version, because it did end up getting translated into English and there are English copies out, which I regret not waiting, because I would have loved to own those copies. But yeah, this is just the like original version. I just keep the edges out because it makes like a saying and then it connects, and I think it's so pretty, like the gold edges. I think it's so pretty. So yeah, I just keep it like that. Maybe one day I'll flip it around. Wicked witch. I'm so brain rotted. But yeah, I lost my train of thought from that. But yeah, I'm still debating whether to get the English edition and sell the original, but I don't know, I really love the original as well, and it came with a lot of like merchandise that I want to keep, and I don't know if people would be willing to buy without the merchandise. But yeah, I may pick up the English edition because I just love Heaven's Official Blessing that much. But yeah, that is my Heaven's Official Blessing shelf. Up next is just the rest of my Danmei. So as you can see, most of it is 7Cs, because I'm someone, when it comes to reading Danmeis or just like web novels in general, or light novels, or all of those, I definitely prefer having a physical copy, because it's so easy for me when I read like digitally to get sidetracked, to get distracted. And half of the time when I'm reading something digitally, I'll stop like maybe halfway through and just never finish it. So reading it physically keeps me more accountable, if that makes sense, because I have it with me all the time. I have a bookmark, and obviously I want to put them on my shelves, because I don't put anything unread on these shelves. I have a separate section for all my unread manga and novels and like all of that. So obviously that incentivizes me to actually read my physical copies, so then I can put them on the shelf. But yeah, tangent aside, so the first series I have is Scum Villain. So I have my MXTX novels. If I'm gonna rank them, it would be Heaven's Official Blessing, Scum Villain, and then Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. That's not to say I don't like Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. I of course love it, but I just think I enjoyed the other two a lot better. But I really enjoyed Scum Villain. If you're into like isekai manga and stuff, this is essentially it, where we have the main character. He gets transmitted into this novel where he becomes essentially the villain who bullies the main character. And because of that, when the main character grows up, so Le Bing-he, when he grows up, he ends up killing the villain. So he has to essentially stop that and change what happened in the novel so that he survives. But it is so good. This definitely has a bit of more of a problematic element, where you do have the main character Le Bing-he, and when they first meet, it's like a very significant age gap. Like he's still very much like a child and stuff, but they don't get together until they're like much older. And there was a huge portion of where like growing up they like was separated because of circumstances, which you'll find out if you read the novel, which I highly recommend. So yeah, so it's a little bit problematic in that sense, but I still think it's really good. I love it. When it comes to fiction, I'm just a lot more lenient on that kind of stuff, obviously. But it's such a good Danmei. It's like, people call it a lot more comedic, but I think if you really think about it, like a lot of the scenarios are not as funny as how it is. It's just the way it's written and portrayed makes it seem a lot more comedic, but it's really good. I really enjoy it. This is one I actually frequently reread. I think out of the three, surprisingly, this is the one I actually reread the most. And yeah, I just really love it. I really hope eventually we'll get a donghua, like a good adaptation, you know, or just another season. It's just so sad that this is kind of like just a forgotten one, even though I think it's so good, and I would love to get more merch of this series if it wasn't so hard. And then next up we have Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. Oh, I forgot to say I did get the special edition for this one as well. And then for Grandmaster, of course, I got the special edition, which also came with a notebook. But yeah, this Danmei, once again, like MXTX, just amazing. I love this one. Actually has a really good donghua, which I highly recommend. I did watch a bit of it, so I actually started with watching the donghua before. I was like, no, I'm just gonna read the novel. So then I ended up reading the novel, and I read through it so quickly. It was so good. I just really enjoyed it. I really love the relationship and the dynamic between the main characters. They're so cute. This is one that I definitely like. I really enjoy reading the fanfics for this specific Danmei. And then up next we have the Husky and His White Cat Shizen. So I currently have like 1 to 8 here, but in my room I actually do have volume 9 and 10, but I'm in the middle of reading them right now, and I'm not going to get them done before the end of the year. So yeah, but I do have 9 and 10 as well. And oh my gosh, this series is probably like, aside from like MXTX and all of that, because I'm like biased just because that's like my starting point, and I hold a lot of like nostalgia and like fondness for them, for like how it got me into Danmei and stuff. But aside from that, Husky and His White Cat Shizen has to be my favorite so far of what I've read. This is so good. Like, there's a lot of like problematic things or like very like triggering things. I would highly recommend checking the trigger warnings before reading this. This is not something I would recommend wholeheartedly to everyone. I am very careful with recommending this series just because there's a lot of elements which would be considered controversial, problematic, but I love this series. It is so good. I think just the way the author can really like depict these characters and their emotions, I think it's so well done. It feels so realistic. You see how like how specific characters go through different emotions like guilt and trying to like get through, like, because this is about like having another second life, but in your first life you did a lot of like really bad things, and trying to like better yourselves in the second life, but still having that guilt just constantly following you for every action you do and what happens. And it's just so good. It's so good. Like, it's very angsty, but it's amazing. Like, I don't know how many times I've cried reading to this, especially like these volumes. I was bawling my eyes out. It was so good. But if you can handle, if you looked at the trigger warnings and all of that and like all of those elements, I would recommend it. I think it's just very well done in how it depicts a lot of their issues and problems, and I just really enjoy it. And it's so good. Like, I feel like I'm not articulating it as well as I should, but just I am so in love with how well it characterizes its characters. You really feel for these characters and they feel very real. Another thing, I think this series has like the best covers. They're so like stunning. Oh my gosh, I love the covers for these. But yeah, I'm so excited to like, because I'm currently in the middle of volume 9, so I cannot wait to like just read through volume 9 and 10. And then up next, very different tone. I remember I was reading these two at the same time because I usually, when it comes to Danmeis or like novels and stuff, I can handle reading 2 series at a time. That is my max. I don't like reading more, but I was reading these two, and I would always read the Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish like whilst I was reading this, because this is definitely a lot more like just fluffy and very cute. I really enjoy this. It's a very weird title, very weird concept. I remember telling some people about it and they're like, what the hell are you reading? But trust me, it's just very cute. I think there's one element in here that I don't want to spoil, but I think it was interesting. It could have been done a little bit better. Yeah, I don't know really how I feel about it. I feel a little bit like iffy. When I was reading, I was like, oh, do we really need to like change a massive part of the like the story, but I really enjoyed it. It's very cute, it's very wholesome, honestly, and this is definitely a more comedic one, very lighthearted. There's no stakes, in my opinion. Like, the stakes that are in the series, it's very much like something happens, like political drama, but you know, like, it's gonna turn out okay because of just like, it's not meant to be taken too seriously. Yeah, I really enjoy this. I think it's very cute. And I don't know if this would like intrigue more people, but there is male pregnancy, so take that as you will. Oh my gosh, what am I talking about? But next up we have Salad Days. This is my only non 7Cs Danmei series, just because 7Cs is the cheapest when I buy Danmeis. Obviously everything else is a lot more expensive to get, but I had to get 7 days. Sorry, not 7 days, Salad Days, because I just really like, I remember reading the manhwa quite like a long time ago, and I really enjoyed reading it. And so when I finally saw the series, like the novels in stock, I had to pick it up. I picked both of them up. I got it during a sale, so they were a little bit cheaper than what they usually are, but this series is so good. My only complaint is that it's too short, but it's very cute. It's about a ballet dancer and a boxer, and I think it's so cute because we see them as kids, like trying to pursue their dreams to when they're adults. And I am a sucker for any story that's about like pursuing your passions, especially in the arts. I don't know why it gets to me, but any story that really is about like following your dreams, especially when it's a dream that most times, if you're not successful or you're not at like the top like 1%, you're not making a lot of money and stuff. I think maybe it's just like, I don't know, I really like love those kind of story of just like pursuing your passions, and especially in the arts, as I said before. So seeing these two people really like try everything, especially with ballet, like pursuing ballet as a male dancer as well, and like what that entails, I just loved it. The romance is also very cute. It's like childhood friends to lovers, one of my favorite tropes. So I really enjoyed, I highly recommend. That's another one that I feel like really defined me, in the sense of I really like not felt myself, because I'm not pursuing anything like that, but I really like resonated with that series and its message of like living your life for yourself, pursuing what you want to do. You only have one life, that kind of message. It really resonated with me. So that's one. I think I remember I did a video of like 10 series to get to know me. I picked Salad Days just because of that, but I highly recommend. It's very cute. It's a very like fluffy childhood friends to lovers with that really like very like, it's a message that's been done so many times, and it's a message I love reading about every single time. But yeah, that is the rest of my Danmeis. Skipping this shelf, which has a lot of my merch, we get to the beginning of my LGBT section. A lot of it is BL, but we're gonna start here. So we have quite a few like tall one shots, so a lot of like 7Cs one shots. I feel like these are ones I picked up quite a bit this year, just because I can read them in one go, and I like just not having to stress about like upcoming volumes or like catching up to the release, besides this one, because I know there is like a second part, but I haven't picked it up yet. And I think this one also has a second like volume, but I don't think it's out in English yet. And Punch Triangle, okay, but like, you know what, it's not like a 10 volume series, like that's what I mean. But first we'll start off with Punch Triangles. This one I actually did read like digitally first, like through scans, and I was planning on buying it in Japanese to support the mangaka, because anytime I read things through scans, I try my best to support the mangaka, whether that's like buying merch or like buying the series in Japanese or whatever. But then I saw the announcement, so I decided to just wait and then pick up the English release, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very nice one shot about like punk fashion and all of that. I think like I'm not into the fashion or like that culture, so I'm not like too well versed, but I think I did see a complaint was that it doesn't really go like, especially when it comes to punk. I am very aware that it is very political, and that's just something that's not really explored here. It's just more about like the clothes itself rather than the whole like just punk like culture. subculture and stuff, but I really enjoyed it for what it was. It was really nice just seeing the fashion. Like, I thought the clothes were so pretty, and I love the character designs. Honestly, it was pretty cute. I remember wishing that we did get more expansion on like their relationship, because I think with a lot of these one shots it was a lot of like of how they got together rather than like what happens when they're together. So I think that's what's being explored more in the second volume. So I am excited for when that gets printed in English. But yeah. Up next we have Fake Fat Lips. So this is like an enemies to lovers, or like rivals to lovers, and I really enjoy this. I really liked the dynamic between the two. I just liked their interactions and like that rivalry they have, but also like not really, and like seeing their like developing feelings and stuff. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed this one. And then I have 10 things I want to do before I turn 40. This is another one. This is like a co-worker relationship. We have like older co-worker and a younger one, but I really enjoyed this. I think because there is that little bit of a message as well of like growing older. I say this, I'm not old, like I'm literally just starting university, but I think it would resonate with a lot of people in terms of like growing older and like feeling you can't do a lot of the things you did when you were younger, but still wanting to, or like just having that like sense, losing that sense of identity, or like having that very like monotone life as you grow older and wanting to change that. And I really enjoyed that, and I like the relationship progression. I think it was very cute, and I love him so much. Like, he's so cute. But yeah, and then up next we have Black Blood. This was one I was really excited to read when it came out, and I couldn't find it at first. It was quite hard to find at first, because when it first came in stock it immediately went out of stock, and I waited for months until it finally came back in stores and I was able to pick it up. And honestly, it wasn't too bad. I think my expectations were a bit too high for this series, but as you can see, it is like a cyborg, or like a robot and a human, but it has that like exploration where like the cyborg doesn't technically have a heart, but still ends up falling in love, and what that means, what it means to be in love, and all of that, like that kind of exploration. And I thought it was pretty good. Once again, I think it was just like, I wish it was a little bit longer. I think that's my issue with like one shot. I always want more. Like, even though I may enjoy a one shot, usually it's, sorry, I'm calling it a one shot. I'm assuming a one shot can also mean like a one volume, but usually I'm always like wanting more out of the relationship and seeing it further develop, which is kind of hard to get, because obviously you have so many pages to go through getting into a relationship and exploring all of that. But I know a lot of these series do have like a second volume coming out, so my opinion may change in the future. And then up next, introducing literally one of my top BLs, or even just top 10 favorite manga of all time, Classmates, if it wasn't obvious. I love this series. I watched the movie like years ago. I don't even remember when I watched it, but I instantly fell in love. I fell in love with the characters, the romance. This is just a simple, like, we have an opposites attract, where we have like the nerdy type and then the more like sporty one who does like music and stuff, and you see how they each help each other like develop as a person. And I really like, because you do see them as high schoolers, then in university, and then I think you can tell what happens afterwards. And I just love this, how you really get to see how their relationship develops, how they overcome their troubles and stuff. And it's a series I just love so much. It's one I've recommended so many times to people to check out the movie. It's such a beautiful movie. I love the art style. Like, Sumiko Nakamura has to be like one of my favorite mangakas in terms of just art. The art is just stunning. I just love this series so much. I highly recommend. There is one thing I don't like, which is the teacher. Like, he like pisses me off. So as you can see, I'm missing the 4th volume, because the 4th volume is his story, and I generally, like, I've tried reading it, I could not, so I just did not pick up the 4th volume. And also, if you're planning on starting this series, I would say Occupation to Beloved. it's technically one you don't really need to read because a lot of it is just like extra volumes, or no, sorry, extra stories of like different characters, and not really like a direct sequel to the main couple. It's a Blanc that we really get that like direct sequel, but I think from memory there is like little snippets of them, but it's not too bad. But yeah, I just could not read the one about the teacher, so I just couldn't. And then this is not actually like the English edition. I'm pretty sure this is gonna get printed in English. I just don't know when. And also volume 6, Blanc was technically in 2 volumes, but it got combined into one, which kind of makes me sad because I really liked how the covers, like you could match them, but I'm not going to complain too much just because I love this series. And then another work of Asumiko Nakamura is A White Rose in Bloom. This is her GL series. This is like set in a European boarding school, and oh my gosh, I think especially the first volume really exceeded expectations because of what it discussed. Like there was discussions about like war and like immigration and stuff, which was not what I was expecting because I thought this was just gonna be like pure romance. But I really enjoyed it, how they just have this little bit of like nuanced topics like scattered throughout the story. It really adds to the like world of this story, and I just really enjoyed it. I am really liking the dynamic between the two because we have like the more stoic type and the one who's more like energetic, outgoing, doesn't think as much, more like airheaded in a sense, or appears to be more airheaded. I really enjoyed that. I think there is a few more volumes out in English, but I have not been picking them up, but I definitely do need to because I really am enjoying that series. Up next we have Delinquent Daddy and Tender Teacher, so volume 1 and 2. I think there's like 6 volumes in this, so it is like a bit of a longer series, but this is a really cute one. It's about a preschool teacher, and then preschool or elementary school teacher or primary school teacher, and then like a past like friendship, or like past, like they knew each other in the past and then they distanced themselves, and then he comes back with having a child, and they get closer through the child because he is the teacher of the child. And I think it's really cute. I think there is also some pretty good discussions about like how it's like to navigate a relationship whilst one of the partners has a child from a past relationship, and like how do you fit into that in a sense. So yeah, very cute, enjoyed it. I am gonna get the next volumes eventually, I just don't know when. Up next is I Think I Turned My Childhood Friend Into a Girl. So I have 1 to 3 and then a volume 7 in Japanese. So I think that clearly is an indication that I enjoy the series enough. This is one I actually read before through Skins, and I was really excited for it to come into English. And this is just about childhood friends. This is another like childhood friends one, and one of them really loves doing makeup and stuff, and so he asked his childhood friend, could he essentially use him as like a model, or like a test model to try on makeup. And from there he ends up really like enjoying how he looks with makeup and presenting a lot more feminine. But yeah, it's a really cute childhood friends to lovers one. Honestly, I don't actually know if they're gonna get together. I just kind of assumed, like, I don't know the specific like genre, but I'm assuming, because right now to me it's giving very strong vibes of the constantly like back and forth of like, I like him but I don't know if he likes me, or I like him but I don't know if he likes me, like both of them. And then I have a very strong feeling that it won't be until the very end of the manga that we get like a confession scene. But very cute series. Sorry, my explanation is just like very cute. Like, I'm so sorry. It's just because a lot of these series I have talked about quite thoroughly in my 2024 and 2023 video. So if you're wanting a bit more, like even more than what I'm talking about now, you can go check this out. But next up we have Boy Meets Maria. Rest in peace to the mangaka. They unfortunately passed away, but this is a beautiful story. This one is a lot more triggering, so I would check out the trigger warnings before getting into this series, because it is quite like, I would say it was a lot more graphic than what I was expecting, and it was very confronting to read. But I really like the exploration of gender, and what that really means, especially like when you're like in adolescence and you're like growing up and you're hitting like that point where you're like, who am I as a person, and like you're really just trying to find yourself in this world. But yeah, I think it was a very like thought-provoking story. Up next we have our dining table. This used to be a one shot or like a one volume until I'm pretty sure recently the like next installment came out, which I haven't picked up yet, but I have seen it in store. But this is just another one about like a child. I think I really do love like series about like there's like a child in it, and it's like the couple, and there's like that found family. There's a very like strong found family aspect in this, and I think it's very cute. And this is a story that's really about like bonding through food, and like when you're eating, there is that like you're sharing food with these people and you're connecting through them, and I think it's very cute. This is a very cute little one volume. Up next we have The Two Lions. This is one I honestly did not enjoy that much. I think my expectations were so high for this series and it just really didn't meet it in my opinion. I think it was just a one-shot aspect, but this is about like past delinquent, ex-delinquent, and having that reputation and wanting to move and like have a brand new start, but then meeting someone from your high school who knew about you or who knew you during that time, and them going to the same like college or university. But yeah, honestly I don't remember much of it, and I think that says enough that I did not enjoy it as much as I wish I did. Up next is How My Daddies Became Mates. This is an Omegaverse. This is an established like relationship, like they're married, they have a child as you can see, but it's just more about their past, and this is about like delinquents, and I really enjoy stories about delinquents, so I enjoy this. I think it's very cute. Obviously I love stories that also have like, as I said before, children, so it was very nice to have that like aspect of they already have a child, so you have that like aspect of like the family, and then it's just the child essentially asking their parents like, how did you guys meet? And I think it's very cute, and it is just 2 volumes. And then up next we have I Hear the Sunspot. So this is one that I feel like is more well known, I feel like, in my opinion, for those who like collect physical manga. But yeah, it's kind of, people get confused about the order, but the order is I Hear the Sunspot, then Theory of Happiness, then Limit 1 to 3, and then 4 Seasons is the one that's currently being released. I think there's 2 more volumes or 1 more from my understanding, but I haven't picked those up yet. But I really enjoyed this series. This is about a character who is deaf, and then them trying to navigate the world, and then we have, and it's another one of those tropes that we have the more like kind of like not as out there, like more shy, and then the more like outgoing one, very like extroverted, like introvert extrovert trope, which I love, and I think it's really cute. And honestly this has made me cry like especially in 4 Seasons I've cried because there is some like discussions about like family issues and stuff, which anything about family will always like tug my heartstrings, so I ended up crying. But yeah, this one I enjoyed. There is a lot of miscommunication, if you're wondering, but honestly I'm someone who kind of enjoys the miscommunication trope. I realized I used to think I didn't like it, but I think it's just how it's done. But I think most of the time I kind of enjoy the miscommunication trope because I just like seeing, like, I don't know how this sounds so weird, but I just like seeing the characters like be upset. Like, I don't know, I just sometimes think the angst of the miscommunication is fun to read. So yeah, I don't know what that says about me, but this one I honestly enjoyed. I enjoyed it a lot more than what I was expecting, and I'm really glad. And I think it's so cool because Kino Kaniya did some like exclusive covers. So these are like special covers which are different from the originals, and I think they're so pretty. Oops. And I'm so happy to have both of those. But yeah, oh my gosh, all my merch is falling. But that is the first shelf of my LGBT manga. Up next we have like more LGBT manga. So the first series I have is Mobsters in Love. So I've volume 1 and 2. I'm only missing volume 3, which is the last volume, but this is about Yakuzas. I really enjoy reading about like manga about delinquents and Yakuza, so I had to pick this up, and this is really good. I really enjoy it because we have this character who's very like, who appears very scary and like very menacing and very stoic, but then they're like in love with him and you see him like blush and stuff, and that's like my favorite trope, if that makes sense, or like one of my favorites. Like you have a very stoic character but they're actually like very cute, blush a lot and stuff. It's just how they appear to a lot of people. But yeah, it's pretty good. Honestly, I haven't read it in a while, but just from that trope alone, I really enjoy it. Up next, we have The Pet Detective Agency. This is my only Kuma volume, which honestly, like, this volume was hella expensive, but the quality is insane. Like, it feels like an actual, like, regular Japanese volume. Like, you have the flaps and everything. But yeah, I wish I could tell you what happens in this, but I read this so long ago. Like, this is definitely due for a reread, but I just don't remember a lot. Like, I don't remember a single thing. I just think I really liked the character designs, like from memory of why I wanted to pick this up. And because we have someone who is like, looks more like rugged, like very like, looks more like a delinquent. But yeah, here's the synopsis. Yeah, sorry, I generally like don't remember much from that. And then up next we have Mr. Minima. This one is from, yeah, this is by the same mangaka who wrote Kiss Him Not Me, but I really enjoyed this. This is just about like a more shy character and someone who helps him come out of his shell and stuff. I will say there is an age gap. Like, I'm pretty sure he's in high school and he's an adult from memory. But yeah, I read this, like, I have a vlog where I actually read this volume and it was alright. I don't remember much once again. I think that says a lot when I don't remember a lot, but I didn't have any strong feelings about this one volume, and I just remember the cat was very cute. Up next we have 7 Days. This was the first like Sublime manga I picked up, so I think this is my first ever BL I picked up from memory, and it was pretty good. I just remember it was about like a guy where if you confess to him, he will agree to date you, but he will break up with you on the 7th day, so he'll date you for a week. And then a guy, I think out of a dare, ends up asking him out and they end up dating, but obviously things happen. But this is combined from my understanding, because the original like Japanese volumes, there were 2, but it was alright from memory. Honestly, like, this is one, like, this, if any of them is due for a reread, it's this one, because I read this, like, I would say probably like maybe like 2020 2021 is when I got this volume, so I genuinely don't remember like a lot. Up next we have Old Fashioned Cupcake. This is another like co-worker romance, and this is another, I think, very similar vibes in my opinion to the 10 Things I Want to Do Before I Die, because in this story we have an older guy who's just trying to relive and like do things that he never really got to do, to hope to like bring back a spark in his life. And then we have a younger co-worker or like subordinate who tries to like help him to remove the like monotony of his life. And I really enjoyed this. I think it was very cute. I know there's another volume which I have in my cart literally, so I will pick it up eventually, but I really enjoyed this volume. This is a one shot, it's not a one shot anymore, but like this was a one volume that I actually enjoyed a lot. And then up next we have the iconic Given, so 1 to 9, that is the complete series, and oh my gosh, so many emotions reading this. I just love Given so much. Like, I remember watching the anime when it first came out and I fell in love. The song, like, I don't know how you say in Japanese, but like the somewhat like English translation, like A Winter Song, like that song, the season 1 song, like anytime I hear it, like, oh my gosh, I'm transported back to when I first watched it and like bored my eyes out. It was such a beautiful song, and I love the anime, so of course I had to like pick up the manga, and I really enjoyed it. I think it was, I've said it multiple times, but it's volume 3 for like when it follows this couple. I don't really care much for this story. I'm gonna be so for real. I really only care about the main couple. So I didn't really enjoy those volumes. But once we got more into it, it got more back into their story and stuff. And I really enjoyed it. And I think this year there was a lot of like given hype, especially when that doujinshi like chapter came out. Oh my gosh, so good. But yeah, I really love Given. I would highly recommend watching the anime first before reading the manga, just because the anime has the songs, which are amazing. Up next, we have Black or White. I have 1 to 8. I really enjoy this because I also like enjoy a manga that's within the entertainment business or the entertainment industry, and this is about these are about 2 actors. So it's them, like this is an established couple, so they already in a relationship, and it's just them trying to hide it from people whilst maintaining a relationship. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's a bit like, it's a tiny bit problematic because I think the top, he's a bit sometimes I question his thoughts. He's definitely like quite possessive, but I love him so much. He's once again that trope of like someone who appears very stoic and stuff, but he's actually like very soft and very cute and like blushes a lot, gets very shy and anxious, and I think it's just so cute. I love him. But yeah, this is actually one I enjoyed quite a bit, obviously. Up next, we have Golden Sparkle and Takara's Treasure. I really enjoyed this mangaka's work. But yeah, Golden Sparkle is a very interesting one. It's about like childhood friends. I'm pretty sure they're childhood friends. I'm sorry, they're not childhood friends. They're just like recent friends from high school, and just have one guy who's like very innocent, and like the other guy is like teaching him about all of that stuff. But yeah, it was an interesting one-shot. Honestly, not bad. I actually still enjoyed it. I thought their relationship was pretty cute. But Takara's Treasure, out of these 2, like the 2 I have, I love. As you can tell, I loved it so much that I actually got the like Chinese version. I bought this not realizing it was coming out in English, because I read it through scans first. So of course I wanted to support the mangaka, but I thought I was buying the Japanese version. But obviously I'm so happy to have this. But yeah, I love this. This has to be like one of my favorite 1 volumes. It's so good. I think it's so cute. I really love him. He's so cute. And I actually do have a piece of like fan-made merchandise I managed to find at a convention. I've got a keychain of them, which I'm so shocked I found. But yeah, I think this is so cute. This is an instance of like guy from the countryside moves to like Tokyo, the big city, and then it's him going to like university for the first time, and then meeting the guy who's much more of like a playboy and stuff. But yeah, I find it so cute. I really enjoy this 1 volume. Up next, we have Sasaki Miyano. So I have 1 to 7, and then I have volume 10 because it came with like an additional doujinshi story. But oh my gosh, I know everyone calls this like the basic one, but I love Sasaki Miyano. At first, I honestly did not enjoy it that much. I think the first volume, like the first 3, they're kind of weak, but it gets so good towards here. Like, oh my gosh. I think it's so endearing to read a story about someone who has an interest in like BL manga, and then like this upperclassman, he like embraces his interest and also like reads it and stuff, and he's not like shaming him for his interest. And I'm just like, I think that's so cute. Just someone who's like willing to listen about your interests, even if it's not something they're entirely like super into. I think it's so cute. That is my dream, honestly. Like, I want someone in my life like who would just listen to me yap for like hours and hours and just not care, not judge. Like, that is my dream, honestly. But such a cute series, and I also love the covers. They're so pretty. Up next, we have I Cannot Reach You. This is a BL I got so long ago, like I don't know how long, but yeah, as you can see, it's a childhood friends to lovers. It's a very simple story about just childhood friends to lovers, and the like one of the friends is in love with the other friend but doesn't want to confess because they don't want to ruin their relationship, and the other one is just clueless. But yeah, I only have the first volume. I think actually I don't know if I have another volume that I just have not read, but it's just a simple childhood friends to lovers. It's nothing like crazy or exceptional. And then up next, I have Our Not So Lovely Planet Travel Guide. I really enjoyed this. I think this manga actually ended just recently from my understanding. I'm so behind on manga news, I can't lie. But this is just about an established couple who is traveling the world, and if they survive, like if their relationship maintains by the end of them traveling, they will get married. And I think it's so cute. I really enjoy this because it's them exploring different cultures, and you can tell the mangaka has like researched it. And I think it's very interesting because they obviously come from Japan, which is a lot more conservative, so them going to different countries and seeing how different countries essentially like navigate or tackle like LGBT issues and stuff is really inspiring to read, honestly. Especially because we have like one guy who's a lot more like hesitant to like let people know or tell that he is gay, compared to another one who's a lot more open to it. So we have that like dynamic within the relationship. But yeah, I really enjoyed the first 2 volumes. I definitely need to get the rest. And up next we have Puppy Love. I'm so sorry to say, this is another one I don't remember. From what I can remember, it was just very cute. A simple one shot. I think it was just about like them, like it had like cute animals. But yeah, don't remember much. Up next we have Scarlet Secret. Oh my gosh, this series is so good, but the ending, the way this ended, I was like, you cannot end it like that. But it's so good because it's this whole like culture around it, and because they knew each other as kids and stuff, there's like that childhood friends aspect, and then them navigating their feelings and what it means to love each other, and just, oh my gosh, it's so good. This one is like one I highly recommend. This is like a 1 volume that I really love, but I just wish it was longer because, oh my gosh, that ending was just insane. Like, I can't believe it ended like that. For me, it left a very open-ended ending. Okay, here's a 1 volume I really love. Touch Within the Abyss. This is about an assassin and a man who is blind, and it's I would describe it as a very quiet romance. It's very like, I would say there's not too much dialogue in my opinion, or it feels like the dialogue is quite short, and it's just more about the actual like actions of the characters and like the little movements in the fingers of how they look at each other. I really love this one. This one is a beautiful story. I'm so happy it got an English release, and as you can tell, I loved it so much that I actually did buy the Japanese volume. And then we get to some of my Japanese releases. So I picked these up when I really loved the manga. So we have another work by the same mangaka, which I love, and I'm pretty sure this is getting released in English, unless that's me being delulu. But this is another beautiful one I highly recommend. And I got this when I was actually in Japan, and it came with this like special like booklet, so of course I just had to pick it up because, oh my gosh. But yeah, this one is beautiful. I'm just in love with the mangaka's art. And then up next I have Don't Be Shy. This is a really cute BL. It's about 2 like delinquent groups, but they're not actually delinquents because they actually do good stuff, but they just have the appearance of one, and they like stop crime. And it's about one who's like secretly in love with the other, so it's like another one where he has more of like a rough appearance, but then gets all like shy and blushes and stuff, and it's so cute. I know there's a 2nd volume which I have read, but I just haven't picked it up yet. And then up next we have this title. This is about like a guy who really enjoys this like kids superhero show, and he watches like all the plays and like all the things, and he's really in love with this one actor, this one who like, but he thinks like performs his favorite character the best. And this was just, once again, it was such a cute read. But yeah, that is the end of this shelf. So up next we get to like the rest of my LGBT, and then it kind of like, this is like, yeah, and then we just get to a bunch of like random titles I just put here. So first, oh my gosh, one of my top 10 favorite manga, this title. I recently just finished reading it. Like this year, I actually reread the entire series and completed it, and oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful manga series. I'm really hoping it gets printed in English one day. Honestly, my hopes are not too high, unfortunately, just because I feel like it's about a type of like theater that is very like, it requires a lot of like translation and explanations like what they are, because if you're not well versed in it, it just like, it's a lot of like trying to understand it. But it's so good. This is by the same mangaka who wrote Candy Color Paradox, which I want to read just purely because I am so in love with this series. It is so beautiful. I love the relationship between the two, because this one definitely has a lot of discussions about like being in love in essentially a type of theater that requires their like work to be passed down to the next generation, and how do they navigate that. And you can see there's some like discussion about like the past and what happened and how essentially these kids are changing it. But yeah, it's so beautiful. I highly recommend. I love it. At first starts off as kind of like a rivals, but then they get to know each other and becomes like lovers. And oh my gosh, I just could go on and on about this series. I just love. This is one I'm like, everyone has to read. It's so good, and everyone has to ask this for an English print, because this deserves an English print. Like, oh my gosh, literally any like manga publishing company, I will pay ridiculous amounts just to get the whole series. And then we have the very long title, The Other World Books Depends on the Bean Counter. This one is getting an anime release. I'm so excited because this manga series, this is an isekai BL manga, but it is so good. We have like an overwork worker, and then one who's like always trying to like stop him and like protect him and stuff. And oh my gosh, it's just so good. I keep on rereading the volumes. I think volume 5 is out, so I need to pick it up. But another one that I highly recommend, and I'm so excited to see the anime. I really hope it has a good adaptation. And I know the light novels are out, which I want to get eventually, because I'm pretty sure there's only 3 light novels, and that's the entire story. So I'm very tempted to just read that so I can know the whole story, because it hurts to like wait for each volume. But I think even like the Japanese release isn't that far ahead. I think they might also be up to like either volume 5 or volume 6. So yeah. Then we have a GL title. I just want to say this is not all of my LGBT titles. I'm just realizing, because some of them are like I put in different sections just because of like the height of the manga. But we have How Do We Relationship. I have 1 to 5. This is another top 10 favorite manga of all time. Honestly, I haven't read it in a while, but I remember when I was reading this, it really blew my mind about the topics they discussed. I really enjoyed it, because it's just about like navigating like how it is to be like a lesbian, especially like the kind of comments you get from other people, and what it just means to also like describing really like the female experience just in general as well. It was so good. I think it's very like, it's definitely not one that's like very cutesy, like very fluffy, but it's definitely a more like realistic story, which I really enjoyed. So I want to get, there's like so many volumes now, because at first I was like caught up, but now I'm not. Now there's like at least 10 volumes, so there's a lot for me to catch up, but I'm not complaining because I really enjoy this series. But this is definitely a more like realistic story. And then we have That Blue Sky Feeling, so 1 to 3. This is actually a shonen title from my understanding, which I really like, because I think this is a good title to have within like the shonen demographic, because it's just about coming of age and what it means to grow up gay, and just a lot of discussions about that, and just trying to like navigate relationships and like even just like friendships whilst being gay, what it means and everything. So I really enjoyed this. I think it was very like a cute story. with some like important discussions embedded throughout. Up next, we have After School Nightmare. This is from a manga publishing company that is out of print. So this is quite an old title. I picked this up like pre-owned, and I picked it up because it reminded me of Requiem of the Rose King, because we're following a character that is like intersex, and it's them like trying to navigate that, and it is a love triangle. So they were like a guy that's in love and then also a girl, and then they're trying to like navigate like, who am I even as a person? But yeah, this has a lot of like very, what's the word, fantastical elements embedded throughout the story. And then next we have Those Not So Sweet Boys 1 to 7. So that is the complete series, and this is one that I really enjoyed. I don't think it was anything special or too crazy, but I thought it was very cute for what it was. I know this mangaka, this, I think their longest work there. I know their other works, it's very much like one, maybe like 3 volumes is like the like longest. So this is their longest work, but I thought it was really cute. It's just about a bunch of like delinquents, or like it's about a bunch of like delinquents and stuff, and they keep on like not attending school. And so this girl, she comes from like a more like poor family, and so she works her job even though that's not allowed. And so she's told by the principal, you're allowed to keep your job if you can bring these 3 guys back to school. And yeah, I think it was very cute. The romance was also pretty good. So even though it's nothing exceptional, I still really enjoyed it. And then I have Lovesick Ellie. I have 1 to 3. This is a shoujo series that has finished actually printing in English, but I still have not finished it. But this is about a girl who's like, as you can see, like she's more perverted. She has a lot of like fantasies and stuff, and then a guy who's like two-faced. So to everyone he appears like very like prince, like charming like guy, but instead he like just a regular guy. But obviously everyone has these like expectations of who he is. And he ends up finding her secret, because she's like a secret like Twitter account where she like talks about her fantasies and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of cringe. I remember like sometimes I was like getting secondhand embarrassment from the girl, but overall I think it was like really cute, and I really enjoyed the dynamic between the two. So I keep on saying dynamic, but because a lot of my series are like romance, it's just natural that I talk about their dynamic. But I think it's very cute. It's obviously one I want to continue and like finish in the future, but I just don't know when I'll get the volumes. Like, it's one I enjoy enough that I'm going to continue and complete it. It's just not one I'm urgently like desperately wanting the next volume. Up next we have Vampire Dormitory. This one I had such high expectations, and they were completely like dropped. Like, this series is honestly not that great. I don't know if I'm ever going to continue it, in my opinion. I might give it like another volume to try, and if I just can't get into this series, I think I'm just gonna stop. But it's just like, I was expecting so much, but it's so fast paced. The romance is just everywhere. It's really not that good. I had so much like expectations. Actually, I know there's an anime. I might watch the anime, and if I enjoy the anime enough, I will continue the manga. But if I can't even enjoy the anime, I might just stop entirely. That's my plan. And then up next we have Love of Kill 1 and 2. So this is another title that at first I struggled to get into, and I really wanted to get into this because a lot of people praise this series, but I just could not get into it. But eventually I read the 2nd volume and I got more into it. It's just another one that, once again, I just have not been continuing. It's due for another reread, definitely. I don't know how many times I reread this series at this point, but yeah, I just need to continue it because I honestly don't remember much about it. But from what I like remember, it's like about assassins. But then up next we have The Maid I Had Recently Is Mysterious. I'm pretty sure this actually has an anime as well, but I picked this up when it first came out and it was alright. I really do like how she has like the purple eyes, like that's the thing that is colored throughout. But yeah, I don't really know how this is going to progress. It feels very like one shot, but I don't know how many volumes. I think there's quite a few volumes, so I don't know how this is going to continue and what's the overall like plot. Because right now it's just very like short stories about like just a kid trying to figure out who this maid is that's looking after him. And then the final title on the shelf is Mamu Akuma, and it's about a girl who summons a demon to essentially like become her mom because her mother passed away and her father's always busy working from memory. And it's really cute, but it's also quite sad because he had that like tone of like this girl who's just like missing her mother and wanting someone there who can like provide that like love, and the fact she has to do it for a demon. But yeah, it's very cute because obviously like the demon is used to being summoned to go to war and stuff, but this is the first time he's ever gotten requests like this, so you see him trying to also like figure it out, like how do I do this. But yeah, that's one I enjoy, but it's also another one that I don't know like how long of a series that's going to be. I don't know how many volumes are actually out for that manga series, but yeah, that's just another instance where I feel like I can see it definitely dragging on and it just being the same thing over and over again. But yeah, that is the first shelf. Sorry guys, I'm gonna be really incoherent. I tried my best talking about each title, but as I said before, it's just gonna be a lot about more about my thoughts rather than a good like synopsis and summary about each one. But we're now gonna move on to the second shelf. Okay, onto the first shelf is where I keep all of my art books and some magazines. So I'm just gonna like quickly go through them. So first I have some Spoon 2DI magazines. So I just keep them here and not with my other magazines that's on a different shelf because these are like really tall and thin. So the first one I got because it had like Tokyo Revengers. That was during my Tokyo Revengers phase. And then I got this one because it had Apothecary Diaries. And then I think it was Cherry Magic, or it was like another series. Oh, My New Boss is Goofy. I'm pretty sure it was like a different series that I also got that. And then this I got for the Blue Lock poster. That's not a Spoon 2DI, that is a Pash. I really like these magazines because these are more focused on like anime. And then here I have my like 10th anniversary. This is like an art book and I'm so in love. And this is the special like edition. So it came with a bunch of additional merchandise like acrylic stands. I had got some pins, cards, just a bunch of merch. This was so worth it and I'm so happy I got this. And then I got the art of Haikyuu. This is like the English copy and I just love Haikyuu so much, and this was just beautiful. Like there's so much in here, it was so worth. And then I got the Haikyuu magazine. So this is the one where it's like them in the future, like oh my gosh, yeah, just love. And then I have one of my favorites because this is my like Requiem of the Rose King, but it's also like just Aya Kano's like other works, but it's like a majority is Requiem of the Rose King. But I love her art and I love Requiem of the Rose King, so I was so happy to get. And then I also have my Heaven's Official Blessing like art book, which came with some additional like merchandise, and once again like the art of Heaven's Official Blessing is so stunning, that of course. And here is a Shikishi board from that art book. And then we get to some like of the author of 19 Days. So this is one of her art books. And then we get to this like character guide for this series. It's like Bungo to Alchemist or something. I honestly just really liked the character design. And then I got this art book. It's called An Extraordinary Ordinary Day. And it's just like a bunch of art of like different people's like lives. It's very cute. One of my first art books is this Toilet Bound Hanako-kun one. I just love the art. I've only ever watched the anime. I have not read the manga, but just I love the anime, so I was very happy to pick up this art book because I love the art. The colors and everything is stunning. Then we get some more like of the author of 19 Days. This is their other art book. And then we also have 19 Days, like the first volume. And then I think Tokyo, actually, I say that the Toilet-ban Hanako-kun was my, like, one of my first, but I'm, from memory, my Tokyo Ghoul one is like one of the first ones. This is the English edition, but yeah. I really enjoyed Tokyo Ghoul when I was younger, so I got the art book. And it was for quite cheap. Then I'm so happy I managed to get this, the Kimi ni Todoke art book. Oh my gosh, I loved Kimi ni Todoke. Like, words cannot express how much I love the Shojo series. It's one of my favorite. It's just such a classic, so good. And especially with the 3rd season coming out, I was so happy to get the art book. And then I also got, this actually just came out this year. This is the like Nana, it's like a guide with a bunch of like interviews and information, and I discovered Nana this year and it has changed my life, honestly. So I'm here to get any Nana merchandise. And then this, I forgot the title of this series, but yeah, here I've only ever watched the anime and it was like alright, but I just think the art is really pretty, so I picked it up. Then I got the Given art book when I was in Japan. I got this. There's so many like Given, like different books that I want to get, but happy to have that. Then one of my favorites, just purely because it is the Tears of Femus art book. I know there's a 2nd volume that I need to get eventually, but I just love, and it's like really thick as well. And then I have these like vision illustration books which contain a bunch of art from different artists. I have the 2024 and the 2025. I got both of these whilst I was in Japan as well, because I've been wanting these books for so long, so I'm so happy I got them. And then I got the Blue Period official art book. Love Blue Period, so I was very happy to get this. And it has a lot of information. It was like really cool to see. And then I have the Yearn of the Dawn. This is like an art book or a guidebook from my understanding. There's a really like pretty one, but I think that one's a lot harder to get. And then we get to like my fan zines and art books. So this, or some of these are like, I got so long ago that it shows like different, like my different interests from different times. So we have a Genshin one of Child and Zhongling, because I did ship them, of course. And then I have some Project Sekai ones. So this is like a fashion one. I found all of these through Twitter, by the way, if you're wondering. This is another Project Sekai one. And oh my gosh, the art is so pretty. I'm kind of sad I'm not into the game anymore, but yeah. Then we have a Kavai and Alhaitham one. This is probably, I think, the latest fan book I got. But it has a bunch of just this artist art of like Alhaitham and Kavai, and honestly, even though I was not into Genshin as much, I love this artist. I love the art, so of course I had to get the art book. And then I have some like fan art books from this other artist I really love. I don't see their work that much anymore, but I have a Tokyo Revengers one and then a Jujutsu Kaisen one, but this has a main focus on Geto. And then another artist, which I'm so sad, I don't think they do much work on this like Jujutsu Kaisen in general, or like this world. This is the Tiger Cub, so this is like a little fan zine, and it has a bunch of like the little stories and comics, and I've like read all of them multiple times. It is so cute. I love this universe. It makes me so happy. So I got volume 1 and 2, of course, and then I got their like other art book which contains like just Yuji and Choso, so like their like sibling relationship, which I think is so cute. I love them both so much. But yeah, that is all of the art books up here. Next we get to a large majority, or I think actually all of my manhwas. So first I have Who Made Me a Princess. I have 1 to 4, and then I have the special edition of volume 7, and this is just a classic manhwa, honestly. Like, I read these like years ago, but I'm so happy that the physical copies came out. Honestly, I just can't believe we got into a point where I feel like there's so much manhwa like releases compared to what we had before. But yeah, I just need to get the rest because I know it's all out by now, but I read these like quite a while ago, like not these physical copies, but just the original story a while ago. And actually I know there's a donghua that's out, which I do want to watch, of Who Made Me a Princess. But yeah, it's just such an iconic and classic manhwa. And then that box is the special edition for the volume 7. And then I have some like Korean, because I got these before like the thought of getting manhwas like published was even a thing. So I have Remarried Empress. I've 1 and 2, so I got this like such a long time ago, and I think I read this during a time where I really enjoyed it, but looking more into the story, I realized I just didn't enjoy it as much. So I don't think I'm gonna pick up the English copies, just because there's other manhwa titles I'd rather pick up rather than meet Remarried Empress. And yeah, I think it's just like one of those titles that you read back then that you really enjoy, but then you read it now and you kind of look and there's a lot of like problematic, and just like it's not as good as you thought it was when you were like 13 years old. And then, but one that is really good that I read a long time ago is Hisu in Class 2. I'm so shocked that this does not have an English release yet. I guess it kind of died down. This was a really popular manhwa in my opinion, like back then, but this is such a cute BL. I really enjoyed the relationship. There is a side couple in here that I actually liked. For me, it's very like difficult for me to like side couples. It's like very rare. I tend to only really enjoy the main couple, and the side couple, when they get their story, I just don't care about. The side couple in here, I think I did like to a certain extent, but once again, I just didn't care for them as much as the main couple. I wanted more about the main couple, but they were so cute, honestly. I just really love this. Is a very like fluffy, wholesome like BL. And then this is actually a recent one I got, because I don't know if this would get printed in English, and I just really wanted like some physical copies of this manhwa because I loved it. So this is the box set for volumes 1 to 3 of The Guildmaster Next Door, and oh my gosh, this is so good. I'm obsessed with like gaming like manhwas, especially with manhwas when it's like BL like gaming setups. It's so good. Like this Net Karma Punch is another one I really love. And yeah, I just, oh, it's so good. The like dynamic between them is so funny, like because it's like them, they know like knew each other, like especially when they know each other virtually, and then them trying to find out each other's identities, and then one figures it out but the other doesn't, and then it's just waiting for them to like connect the dots, and it's just it's so good. I love this manhwa. This is a very, I feel like this is a quite popular manhwa at the current moment, but it's just so good. I love, and just everything. I think I binge read it in like a day or something, because a day or two, because I just fell in love, and it's so good. I think it's actually nearing the end, the manhwa, unless I was misinformed. But yeah, that is it for this shelf. Honestly, not a lot, because manhwas are expensive because they're fully colored. I think I do have some unread manhwas, which we'll talk about later. And then I guess I'll just talk about this since it's here. But this is the Lezen Season's Greeting for 2026. I just recently got it. I think I got it like as I'm filming this. I got it 2 days ago. But yeah, I love how it's like shaped in the album, and I thought it was just fitting to put it here because obviously all the titles are manhwas. But yeah, this is so good, and I love the merch. Hopefully, I did film an unboxing, so hopefully a vlog comes out, because I'm currently in the process of like making a vlog, but I don't know if the vlog will actually, we'll see if I end up deciding to post it. But yeah, such a pretty Season's Greeting, and I love how it's like it's shaped like an album. This mainly is merchandise, but I guess I'll just talk about the art books. I have the Alien Stage art book, which came with the drawing book. This is the Korean edition. This is not the English version, which is coming out. I'm kind of annoyed I didn't just wait, but I didn't think Alien Stage, the art book, would get printed in English, honestly, when I picked this up, because this was definitely when like Alien Stage was like, it was well known, but it's not as big as it is like now, definitely, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm so happy to have it. I just wish I could actually read the information, because there's so much information in there about like each of the rounds and stuff. But yeah, I think we're definitely going to get another art book soon, because there's so much that's happened since this one, because this stops at round 6. And this drawing book has a bunch of like sketches from round 6. So yeah, that is it for this shelf. Okay, here we have a lot of my Japanese volumes. So I'm just going to quickly go through them, because yeah, there's a lot. So first I have my Tokyo Revengers. This is one, I have 1 to 26. So I picked this up before the English edition came out, because I thought this was just going to be stuck in Kodansha jail. So when Seven Seas announced they were gonna pick it up, I was like, what the heck? It wasn't even Kodansha that released it, but yeah. I mean, Seven Seas did, I think it was like, Kodansha did releases of 2-in-1. So you don't get all the covers, so that's why I'm pretty happy. But yeah, the spines are like so pretty. I love the colors. But yeah, this was when I really loved Tokyo Revengers. And then I do have some like additional like guidebooks and like art books here. And then I just have some shoujo titles. A lot of these I got from a secondhand store. So I have this like Japanese like store that sells like secondhand, just like all Japanese kind of like media, but they have like obviously a manga section. So I really like going in there and just picking up titles. So I just have that one. And then I have my Tokyo Revengers like art book. And then I have a condition called Love. So I have 1-5 and then volume 10 because it's a special like art book in here. I think it's like an additional story. I got this before it came out in English because once again I thought it was gonna be stuck in Kodansha jail. But I'm so happy with how much love a condition called Love has gotten. Like it has an anime as well, English release, and I think it's actually just recently ended from my understanding, or it's about to end soon. So yeah, but one of my favorite shoujos here is And Yet You Are So Cool. So this is another shoujo title that I really enjoyed when I read it. It's still stuck in Kodansha jail if you're wondering, but it has quite slow releases, and honestly it's one I don't read that much anymore, unfortunately. I just don't read it anymore. I don't catch up with it, but when I did read it I really enjoyed it. I liked their relationship. I thought it was very cute. Then I have P to GJK. This is another one I got from that secondhand store, and I wanted to read this because I know this is quite a popular shoujo title, but unfortunately I just could not get into it. First there's an age gap, but honestly, like, you've seen some of the stuff I've read, like an age gap is not going to make it or break it for me. I just did not really enjoy it. I could not get through it, but yeah, I'm not too mad about keeping them just because I spent like maybe like $2-3 on each volume. This is my greatest find at that secondhand store. I found a Chihaya Furu guidebook. I love Chihaya Furu. I wish we could get an English release for this, but I love the anime. It's so good. So when I saw this, I just knew I had to get it. It's like one of my favorite animes. It's amazing. And then we just have some more like secondhand. Loki, if you want me to talk about them like in the comments, or you want to know what they are, I'll be more than happy to. But I don't know, I feel like there's not really much to say because I picked these all up like secondhand. And I think this one I haven't even read. I actually got this for free because I remember I was buying from that secondhand store and there was just a bin of like manga that you could pick up for free if you ordered, like purchase something. So I just got this because it reminded me of, oh my gosh, I forgot what the title is, but the art style, like, oh, it just reminded me of an old shoujo, so I picked it up. And then this I got from CD Japan, but this is It Takes More Than a Pretty Face for Me to Fall in Love. This has an English release now as well. I'm realizing a lot of titles I pick up in Japanese or its original language tends to have an English release, so maybe I'm just kind of cursed. But yeah, I have volume 1. And then I have volume 7 because this is a special edition, which comes with this like side story. And then I have some taller manga. So I have a Colorful Stage 1. And then I have Obey Me. So 2 games I used to play. So I kind of like having these just for the fact that it's like I used to play both of them. And then I have this other, I think this is not shoujo. I was supposed to say shoujo. I think this is a seinen romance from my understanding. Seinen or josei, one of the two. But yeah, this is just a very like simple, quiet romance, I'll say, about 2 co-workers falling in love. Not too much drama, but it's just very nice because they're definitely more mature. So it's a more like 2 people who are very like mature and comfortable with themselves and them getting together. So there's not too much like of the tropes of like miscommunication stuff, which is why I like to call it like a quiet romance. It's very nice. I feel like when reading this, I feel like you just got to read in the summer for me, it gives very like summery vibes. But yeah, that is a lot of my like Japanese titles. And now we're on to my final shelf. So here I just keep, unfortunately, just a bunch of like miscellaneous titles. So first I have Blackbird. This I have 1 to 18 because I did get the box set. So it came with the art book or illustration book, and oh my gosh, let me just say that this is a wild read. I enjoyed it, honestly, but I could definitely see some of the bit of like the problematic elements, and I don't enjoy an aspect, especially towards the end. I don't like it when like one of the like either the mother or father is jealous of the child because apparently the child is taking attention away from them. I think that's such a weird thing. Like, that is something I'm very just like, ew, I don't like at all. I don't like it. So we have that, and I'm like, it's meant to be portrayed as like, oh, how cute and all of that. I'm just like, no. But yeah, I definitely can see why this one's definitely more of like problematic, but honestly, I still had a fun time reading it. Would I recommend this? No, but I'm not mad I read it, let's just say. Then I have Bingo Stray Dogs. I have 1 to 3. I love the anime. It's in my top 10. The anime is so good. So obviously I wanted to read the manga, but I think just because it's by Yen Press, the volumes are so expensive, and I know there's quite a few volumes. So I just have the first 3. I think actually 4, but I haven't read the 4th volume yet. But, you know, I'm just happy to have a few volumes, and hopefully one day I'll catch up to it, because I definitely want to know what happens beyond the anime. And then I have Red Riding Hood and the Big Sad Wolf 1 and 2. This is a very early title I got that I regret paying as much as I did, because it is such a bad story. Yeah, as you can see, it's meant to be like we have a crybaby wolf and then a more like sadistic Red Riding Hood, but the story was everywhere. I thought they might even have a cute little romance, but it's just no. Yeah, there's a bunch of just weird characters getting introduced that like served no purpose, and it was trying to be comedic, but it just was not comedic. So yeah, probably one of my least favorite titles, but I keep it here just to say that's my least favorite title. Then we have Otome Mania 1 and 2, which is a series that really blew me away, surprisingly. So I love playing otome games. I really enjoy playing them, so it was really nice reading more about the otome industry and how it works, and I thought it was just so interesting. It really blew, like, I was so shocked about how much I enjoyed it. I had such low expectations because I got these like really cheap. I got each of them for like $8 when they were originally like $20. As you can see, like the dots like marked down, but it was really shocking to me like how much I enjoyed it. But yeah, honestly, if you're into like otome games and you want to learn a bit more about the industry, I would recommend. Obviously, it's not going to be like super in-depth, but it gives you a little bit of insight. And from memory, the author or the mangaka did say that they did go like to the industry or like go to a company and learn more about it. So it's not entirely inaccurate and just like they made it up. So yeah, that is the end of my second shelf, and now we're gonna go on to the third shelf, which I like to really classify as just all of my shoujo titles, or a large majority of my shoujo titles rests on this shelf. So on the top shelf, I have my manga magazines. So I have my Hane to Yume ones, my 4 cheese magazines, or for the King's Beast. The 2 Hane to Yume I got for Yearn of the Dawn. This one came with an acrylic stand, and this came with some prints. And then this one I got for It Takes More Than a Pretty Face because it came with some paper standees. And then all 4 cheese were for the King's Beast. And then I have my Princess magazines, which was all for Requiem of the Rose King. And then my only actual like shonen magazine, which I got purely because it has haiku in it. I think this whole magazine is just haiku. Forgot to also say, with this Princess magazine, it came with like an additional like art book of this title that I'm not sure about, but the art is really pretty and the colors. And then my only BL magazine, my Dear Plus, which has the last chapter of this title, which I just love the series so much that I had to pick this up, and I really hope I can eventually get more BL magazines because they're really cool. But yeah, that is it for this shelf. We're getting to my shoujo titles. So this first shelf is a lot of my like white spine, but it's like this very like, what is it, like bold orange text. I don't know why so many shoujo titles have it. But first I have Oran High School Host Club at 1 to 18. I got the art book for a birthday, which is how I got the series, and I love Oran High School Host Club. It's a very nostalgic series for me. I watched the anime in, I think it was 2016. I watched the anime for the first time and I loved it. It was so good. But honestly, the manga is so much better. I think the first half, I would like to call it the more like comedic. So it's very much like the anime. There's a lot of comedy and stuff. But in the later half is a lot more of the drama and the romance, which honestly, I really enjoyed. And I'm pretty sure there's a specific, like, I don't remember what volume, but I remember even crying at one of the volumes. Honestly, I'm low-key just a really easy crier, so I don't know what that really says. Like, I don't know how sad it actually is, but clearly I felt emotionally connected with the characters enough to cry. I love Haruhi. She has to be like one of my favorite like just MCs ever in like a shoujo series. But yeah, such a good series. I know it has some like problematic elements with some jokes and stuff, but a lot of those jokes just like slowly begin to dissipate, and then the later half I think is like the better half of her Oran High School Host Club, which unfortunately is the part that's not animated in the anime. But then up next is a new title that I got this year, is Dengeki Daisy 1 to 16. This has to be my best find of this year because I got the entire series for $15. Yes, all 16 volumes for $15. I still can't believe it. This is like my best find, and I've always been like wanting to read this series, so I was so happy I got to pick it up. This is by the same mangaka who wrote Queen's Quality and Kyuku Sweeper, which is the series I want to read most from her. But this is another title which I know is very popular, and it's definitely giving like old shoujo, and this does have an age gap, but I overall enjoyed it. It's definitely not one of my new favorites, but it's mainly just a series that I had a good time reading, but it's not one I really think about later on. Like, I never really think about this series or what happens in it like after I read it. I just thought it was a good time. I would like to say in this series there is a lot more like coding and stuff in here. Honestly, I don't think it's like legit coding. It's probably not too like technical, but it was a lot more than what I was expecting. There's a lot more action and stuff than what I was expecting. I can't lie, I honestly did not know what I was expecting. Sorry, I've said that like 5 times now, but I didn't really know what I was getting into when I got into this series. So I was going into this pretty much blind, except knowing that there was an age gap romance. But I feel like the romance is still, of course, like heavily prominent, but nothing really gets fully established until I say quite later on. And I think it's more of the like action and the drama that really takes a forefront in this series. But I still enjoyed it. And then I have Beastmaster 1 and 2. So this is by the same mangaka. And I got this before because I wanted a little taste of this mangaka's work before trying out QQ Sweeper and Queen's Quality. I still haven't picked those series up, but I really do want to get into it. But honestly, Beastmaster, like the actual story is mainly only in volume 1. Volume 2 contains like side stories or different works from the mangaka just compiled into this volume. Honestly, it wasn't that good. I wish there was more romance, in my opinion. I feel like there wasn't a really strong like established relationship between the people. It had like a kind of interesting premise, but nothing exceptional. Then I have the first manga. So this is the title that started my series. I think it's such a random title because usually it's like a really popular like title, like a shonen or like a really popular shoujo title that becomes someone's first volume. But Kenka Bancho Otome was the first manga I ever picked up. I really, like, I remember really liking the anime. It's such a weird concept. I know this is based off an ultimate game, which I really want to play, but I don't know where I can like play it. I don't know if it's like even available in English. But I watched the anime. I have a lot of fond memories watching the anime because I watched it with a friend and we watched it in dub, and the dub is so unintentionally funny. So I really enjoyed watching it with my friend, and I picked up the manga because I just saw it in store. I went book shopping and I was looking through the manga section and I just saw this title and I was like, you know what, let's just pick up this, because I was obviously into anime, but I never picked up any manga series, so that was my first one. And yeah, it's essentially just the anime but in the manga. I think the anime does a pretty good job of adapting the manga since it is based off an ultimate game. It is like a bunch of love interests, but it's like really like you gotta suspend your disbelief because the whole premise is about like this delinquent school. So you, instead of classes, it's like whoever's the strongest, which is just such a silly concept, kind of like Windbreaker, that kind of school setting, but they're all like obviously delinquents and stuff. And it's like this girl, she goes to a boys only school because she ends up meeting her twin, and her twin does not want to go to this boarding school. Actually, I don't think it's her twin, it's just someone that looks very much like her, so she ends up going in his place and it's just her navigating it. But yeah, really like unrealistic concept, but I still love it. And then I don't know why I'm missing 1 to 3. Oh yeah, I'm missing 1 to 3 of Yone of the Dawn because I'm planning on rereading it. So I did my like unread section for now, but I do have volume 35 in Japanese because it came with a special little like tea time additional booklet, which is Yearn of the Dawn. Like, it has some like colored art, as you can see, but then it's also mainly set in a different universe where they're all like high school students, or it's like a school setting. But you know, Yearn of the Dawn recently announced a season 2, which I can't believe. I'm so happy and I'm so excited. So I think that's why I'm really like getting ready to read the manga, because what is it, season 2 got announced and then the manga just ended, the last chapter. So a lot of things happening for Yona, which I'm so excited for. I cannot wait for season 2. So that's why 1 and 3, which is usually here, is not here, because I'm planning on finally getting back into the manga series. Okay, so we're on to my next shelf. This, I keep a lot of my other like white spines, but as you can see, they're a lot more colorful. So first we have Honey So Sweet. This is actually another older shoujo title that I picked up like quite a long time ago, but I really just fell in love with the art. I think it's so pretty, and it's really cool because all of the back covers, they connect, because as you can see, there's like a string, and each one has a string, and then if you line them all up, they all connect, which I think is so cool. But I really just fell in love with like the cover designs. I think they're so pretty. This once again follows a story about like a misunderstood delinquent who ends up falling in love with this girl because she ends up helping him one day when he's like injured, and she's definitely more on like the more reserved side. So he ends up finding her again and asks to date with marriage in mind, and it's them just trying to like navigate their relationship. It's very cute, honestly, very wholesome. I think I've said this every time I talked about this series, but from my understanding, they communicate quite well with each other. Even when they tend to have misunderstandings, it's like they have it once and never again. And they always like talk it out. Like, they even mention like about their misunderstanding, and they're like, oh, we've had this happen, we know, blah blah blah, and they like really talk it out with each other. This is overall just a really cute shoujo title. It's very like, when people think of shoujo, this is like the epitome of it. Like, very sparkly, lots of blush, but I think it's so cute. And the art is honestly just, it's so pretty. I really like this title, honestly. And kind of looking back at the pages, like just flipping through what I just did, I get a bit of nostalgia because I read this series so long ago. And then up next, I have Shortcake Cake. So this is the same mangaka who wrote A Sign of Affection, which I've actually read the first volume of, but I don't know if I'll continue that series, maybe. But I Red Shortcake Cake because I was really like, I honestly I saw the cover and I thought the cover was so pretty, so I picked it up. And it's meant to be like a love triangle. This series is advertised to be a love triangle, but it honestly gets resolved quite quickly. And one of the characters who's supposedly in love with the girl doesn't really feel like he's actually in love with the girl. To me, it more felt like he just got put into this love triangle just to say there was a love triangle. But I do like who she ends up with. She was the one who she did end up with. I was quite like, that's who I wanted her to end up being with. But yeah, honestly, the romance, like them getting as a couple and established, happens quite early on, and then towards the end is a lot of family drama. So we move from romance to more drama regarding like the male leads, like family issues and all of that, which I know some people didn't like because they just wanted full romance, but I honestly actually enjoyed. I found one of the characters to be quite relatable, which I was really surprised. I was not expecting this whole family drama. I think it was him, where when I first read it, I really related to him. But yeah, that's just a bit of hindsight if you're planning on picking this series up, because I know a lot of people like picked up this title or her other works because of A Sign of Affection, but from what I read of A Sign of Affection, this is quite different, and this definitely more focuses on the drama and family drama rather than the romance. Up next, we have Dawn of the Arcana, 1 to 13. I picked this up because I love The King's Beast, so I had high expectations because this is set in the same universe as The King's Beast, but this has a more like European setting. But I think it's just the way this story was set out. This story was set out to be more of a romance, and I thought it was going to be heavily focused on the romance. But unfortunately, the romance is really lackluster, and it has a stronger, like, more like action and political plot, but that was not what I really wanted going into this series. So I think my expectations were just completely different to what the story actually was, which is why at first I was little like put off from the series, but it was not bad. I think just going into it, if you're expecting like a lot of romance, once again, just like change your expectations, because this is definitely more about like her powers, the arcana power, and like the drama and like political stuff. There's a lot of like talks about politics because she is like forced to marry a prince. But yeah, I think instead, if you're wanting that romance, I would go to The King's Beast, because The King's Beast is on the opposite end, where I think some people went into this expecting a lot of plot, but the romance is the forefront of this story, which I really enjoyed. And I really enjoyed The King's Beast. It's one of my favorite mangas. Honestly, like, it gets a lot of slack, but I really enjoyed this series, and I think the art is so pretty. Like, the way like Ray Toma's art like significantly improved, it's actually insane, and it looks so good. Like, I love the art. I love this series. I think this is another one that's just ended recently. But yeah, I saw Viz actually announce that they're doing like a special edition for the last volume, which I'm so excited for because I love this series. But yeah, I've actually haven't read this in a while just because I've been waiting for it to end. So now that it's ended, I'll probably pick up the rest of the titles, because I fly through these because, as you can see, the dialogue's like really short, but it's so good. I love this series. But yeah, I think towards like when we get more to like volume 9 and 10, I'm starting to see more of like the original plot coming back, instead of just it being really heavily focused on the romance. But yeah, I really enjoyed this series. It's literally one of my top 10 manga. And then in addition with The King's Beast, I actually do have this little like mini like additional story and a guidebook. This came with one of the Cheese magazines, which is why I actually picked up that volume, because I'm here to get any The King's Beast merch, because I feel like it's so hard, because it's just one of those titles that very little merch gets made of, and if it does, it's like it's only in Japan. It's very hard for me to get. But yeah, that is the end of this shelf. Up next, we got like my last white spine like shoujo, and then we get to like the black spine shoujo manga. So first we have Prince Freya, which I picked up because this is heavily compared to Yone of the Dawn, but I'm just gonna say Yearn of the Dawn is like a lot better. This one does not have, in my opinion, as well of a fleshed out plot, and the characters are not as well written, but I still enjoyed it. It was still a fun read. I would just say, if you're going to go into the story, do not expect Yearn of the Dawn kind of like world building and character building. But it's another story where the girl has to disguise herself as a guy. She ends up taking the place of the previous like ruler of this kingdom. So she has to go from being very like sheltered. She was very shy, very meek, just like tending a farm, to eventually having to just rule an entire kingdom and trying to protect like all the citizens who are like relying on her, or like the prince, and also trying to keep her identity hidden. But honestly, I still enjoyed it. Despite what I said at the beginning, something that really shocked me when reading this is that it's a lot more graphic than what I expected. Like, when I say graphic, I mean when someone gets decapitated, like you're seeing like the head come off completely, which I was very shocked to see. I thought it would be a lot more censored, but I still enjoyed it. It is quite a fast read, in my opinion. I feel like it goes by pretty quickly, and it is nice to see her develop into someone to be a lot more stronger, but still keeping her like original traits from the past and not entirely changing into someone different, which I think is sometimes like something I find annoying, like in my opinion. I don't know if this is anyone else, but sometimes we don't always need a super like strong female lead. Like, it's always nice to have someone who's like confident in themselves, but it's nice to also see they still keep their traits, especially when it's someone who's like turning from like very meek, reserved, and sheltered to someone who's more like strong. It's not they're just entirely strong, that's their only personality. They still have other traits and stuff that make them like a well-rounded person and actually feel real. They're rather than just a like sad attempt at just creating a strong female lead, which I think this does, like not as well as Yearn of the Dawn. So I keep on comparing it to Yearn of the Dawn, but I just can't help it because I've been recommended this as a comparison to Yearn of the Dawn. But yeah, but still done well, like okay. Don't take my word for it though, because I haven't read it in quite a while, but I actually do want to continue that. But I don't know how many volumes there are, I can't lie. And then we have Bloody Mary 1 to 10. This is complete. I think this is such an underrated shoujo title. This is actually a BL, so as I said before, this is not my like LGBT section, but I just keep it here because it's like under shoujo beat. But one thing I'll say, I love the art, but I think this is such an underrated title. It's like a vampire, and I don't know if he's a priest. Yeah, it's a priest. It's a vampire and a priest. So we have a suicidal vampire who asks this priest to kill him because he can't be killed otherwise. And the priest agrees only if the vampire does some like task or like works under him. And it's just them like doing a bunch of things, and there's an overarching like plot where you get introduced to other characters and essentially what happened, like the backstory of the priest, why he's doing all of this. And honestly, I wish I could say more because it's been so long since I've read this, but I remember when I first read it, I just really enjoyed it, and I think even just the aesthetic alone I really like. But yeah, even though I call it a BL, I would just say it has very strong BL undertones. From memory, there's no like kiss scene or anything, but the mangaka has confirmed they're together from my understanding, unless that was misinformation. But yeah. And then we have Requiem the Rose King, my favorite manga series. I love this series. I'm so sad it doesn't get the love it does because the anime adaptation was terrible. It did not do the manga justice, I think, even on just the art alone, because look at the manga art and then the way it was animated. I'm like, are you joking? But yeah, I just could not finish the anime because I was so upset with how bad the adaptation was, and I'm like, this could have brought more people in to read the manga, but just yeah. But I love Requiem the Rose King. It is loosely inspired by some Shakespeare works, and it is quite political, but then there is a lot of romance. I'll say a lot more romance than what I was expecting, but I really enjoyed it. And we do have an intersex main character. I know that there is actually a side story that is still ongoing from my understanding of this character from Requiem of the Rose King, but honestly, like, I'm not too interested in her story, so I've never actually read it, but I will if there is an English release. If there's an English print, I will pick it up, because I will pick anything up Requiem of the Rose King related. I think it's just such an underrated series and it deserves so much love. And honestly, reading the ending, tears. Like, I was crying. It felt very bittersweet. It's kind of like open-ended, I would say. You don't know exactly what happens. But yeah, especially seeing the main character, Richard, seeing what he goes through and him trying to navigate the fact he's intersex. So yeah, it's just like an amazing series. I highly recommend. And then we have some just like additional things. So first I have these like paper. So I just have Henry here, and then I also have Edward. I actually feel so bad for him. But yeah, I think that's another thing with this like series. You really feel for the characters. Like, my favorite part of this was the characters. I really enjoyed the different interactions with the characters and how they all played a different part. And you definitely see some of the hints of like Shakespeare references, or like its inspiration, or how it's loosely based on some Shakespeare works throughout the story. But yeah, this I got from the Princess magazines, and then I also got this like official fan book from Requiem of the Rose King, because I would take anything Requiem of the Rose King. And then I also got the light novel, which I've actually not read, obviously, because this is in Japanese, but I don't think there's even like any English translation online, but I purely got it for the cover. But that is the end of this shelf. And now we're on to the final shelf, which has manga, because the shelf below is all merch. But this is like has been the same and it's been kept the same. I do not think it will change anytime soon, most likely. But this is like my colorful spine. So we have Daytime Shooting Star 1 to 12. I feel like Mika Yamamori's works get really highly praised, but I find her series like this one to be okay. It was nothing exceptional. It was another instance of just like, it was a good time reading it, but I left the series not really thinking about it ever again. But this is another instance of, but this is another story about like country girl moves to the big city Tokyo, and how she navigates high school. And it does have a love triangle. It is kind of weird because it's a love triangle between her teacher and then her classmate. So Mika Yamamori, I realize, really loves doing age gap stories. But yeah, there is that like age gap instance, which, as I've said before, is like not too big of a deal in terms of like fiction for me. Like, it just depends on how it's done and such. But yeah, I can't say much because I read this such a long time ago and I don't really remember much. But I will say one thing I do love: the art. The art is super pretty. I really like the art of this series. And then up next I have Takane and Hana 1 to 18. This, oh my gosh, this is one of like my first completed shoujo titles. I remember this is another series I picked up quite a long time ago and I really enjoyed it. This is another age gap romance, but it takes a very strong like comedic side to it. It's about this girl who ends up taking the place of her older sister in this marriage arrangement, and she ends up getting with this guy, this like super rich guy, and they end up making like a bet of whoever falls in love first is like the loser, essentially. But I think the way they like dealt with the age gap was done pretty well, in my opinion, because of the fact that he acts like very immature, in my opinion. But I think that's a good thing because it ends up not really creating a super like weird like power dynamic between the two. Obviously in real life, completely different story, but I'm talking just in this fictional story. But yeah, I think what's really cool is that the volume 18 actually came with a limited edition. I wish more manga series would do this, but it's like a limited edition, spoiler alert. And then it also came with this like bonus sequel stories, which I thought was really funny. But yeah, I really enjoyed the comedy in this series. The romance is pretty good, but the comedy is really like the highlight of this. Honestly, I just want to complain about the colors of these titles. Like, what the heck is this like random like three pinks so close to each other? They're so similar. Like, it could have been a nice like different colors, but then we have a random like brown. I really want to talk about who designed the colors and chose the colors. But yeah, but I will say the art is like really pretty. And then the final series is Sacrificial Princess and the King's Beast. I have 1 to 15. I actually do know there is a sequel, which I've read in store. I saw the volume in store and I ended up just like, I was only just flipping through, but I ended up actually reading quite a bit of it just in the aisle. So I want to pick it up, but it's a side story about the sun. Spoiler alert. But this is, if you couldn't tell by the title, it is like a human and beast romance. And essentially a girl is sent to the beast land as like a sacrifice so that the beast like don't attack the humans. But it's found out that the beast doesn't actually eat the human girls or anything. He actually ends up setting them free afterwards. But this girl that's being sacrificed is someone who has like, from memory, she has like no family. She doesn't know really who she is or doesn't have a strong sense of identity. And so she ends up staying with the beast and they end up forming a relationship and it's really cute. And this is an instance of like the beast is like, everyone's scared of me but you're not, like that kind of vibe of the story. But it's really good. I will say the romance is very like tame, nothing crazy about the romance. There's no huge drama. I think a lot of the drama surrounding the romance is definitely more on the political side of like, she's a human, he's a beast, and like the humans and beasts don't get along with each other and all of that. So in this story there is quite a bit of politics and like political drama, which I found quite interesting to read. And yeah, overall it's pretty cute. I really enjoyed the cast of characters. The cast of characters, very lovable. I think they're so cute. I love her. These two, their friendship is so cute. I love. But yeah, so that is the end of this shelf. So I went through these 3 shelves, but actually on the other side I do have 3 more shelves. However, I won't show the 3rd shelf because there is nothing there except like a bunch of like rubbish and stuff. But this is the only shelf that has like my read manga, and then here I have my unread manga. So I'm gonna go through these now. So at the very top I have heyy. I had the entire series, so I have 1 to 45, and heyy, if it wasn't obvious, is a top 10 favorite series of mine. I love this series so much. It has such a special place in my heart. Nothing can replace heyy, honestly. Like heyy, like this is so like I feel like this sounds so cringe to say, but heyy genuinely, like I really made some like close friends or like deeper connections with people through our shared interest of heyy, especially during like 2021 and stuff. I just fell in love with heyy. I think my favorite part about heyy especially is the characters. The way the mangaka can just write each of the characters and for you to really fall in love with all of them, even from the opposing teams. The way all of them are so well written and have so much depth, and just you really get to feel for these characters and they're like seeing their backstory, seeing why they want to play volleyball, their ambitions. It's so good. Like genuinely, like the characterization has to be my favorite part. It's insane to have such a like large cast of characters, but for all of them to be so lovable. I feel like it's like that Pokemon thing where it's like you will meet someone who at least has one of the characters from heyy as their favorite, just because there's just something about them, like the way they're written or like the design. It's just, oh, I love how each character is written. And actually I just today in the morning I reread the last like arc, and oh my gosh, I'm not joking when I said I cried like a good 3 times. Like I could not believe, like even though I reread this series so many times and I already know what's gonna happen, I still cried reading to this series. I've never felt so emotionally in love with these characters, especially Hinata and Kageyama's like seeing them from the beginning to now, and just seeing their relationship and how it develops and how much each of them like matter to each other and how much each of them help the other character grow. It's actually insane. And then how there's so many other characters who supported them, or like how they have their own ambitions and how they navigate like playing volleyball and what playing volleyball really means to them. Like oh my gosh, the character development of so many different characters, like oh my, Kenma, Tsukushima, oh my, like sorry I keep on saying oh my gosh, but that's the only way I can really describe my love for this series. I would highly recommend watching the anime first. The anime does a pretty good job of adapting the manga, and of course like you get that hidden like tension from the anime, because like it's very difficult sometimes to visualize or like see exactly what's happening through the manga, but like the anime, you get like the noise and all of that of the volleyball. It's just wow, it's amazing. The anime is really good. I highly recommend. And the movie was done really well. I am kind of nervous to see how the rest of it is adapted. I don't know how the rest is going to be adapted. All I'm saying is if I don't get the Brazil arc animated, I'm gonna flip out, because that's like one of my favorite arcs. And Brazil arc, and then the like final like volleyball match, or the final big volleyball match, if you know, after, if I don't see any of that animated, I'm gonna like actually crash out, because that's one of my favorite things to read. But yeah, I just love this manga. It's made me go through so many emotions. It really feels like I'm watching like a volleyball match, and it's crazy how long I've been in love with these characters and how long I've been with this series. Like even years after having like watched the anime or having read the manga, I'm still as much in love with this series as I was in the beginning. Like I do not play about this series. This is the one series that like if I hear any criticism, I'm just like I tune out, because I can't hear any. I just love this series so much. Okay, we're gonna skip these two shelves because it's all like merch, and then we're getting to some other shonen titles. So this contains a lot of my like popular shonen titles. So we have Jujutsu Kaisen. I have 0 to 23. If it wasn't obvious, Jujutsu Kaisen, I love Jujutsu Kaisen. I know everyone calls it kind of like the generic shonen, but I think it's a generic shonen done really well. A huge aspect of why I love Jujutsu Kaisen is the characters in particular. I really love the characters. I love Yuji, I love Nanami. Those two have to be my favorite characters, but I really love Yuji as a main character. But yeah, this series is just so good. I think, honestly, my favorite arc has to be the Shibuya arc. That arc is insane. It's so good, honestly. And seeing it animated in season 2, it was insane. It was amazing. But yeah, I really love the Shibuya arc. That really like made me fall in love with Jujutsu Kaisen, because I think the first season was pretty good. I remember enjoying the anime, but it wasn't until reading the Shibuya arc that I really fell in love with this manga. And I think it's just funny looking at this, because if anyone remembers in like 2021 during like peak COVID times, there was like a manga shortage, so it was impossible to get this series, especially the earlier volumes. I remember like I pre-ordered volume 0, and it took a good few months for it to even come. So yeah, it's so funny to me that it was so hard to get so many of the Jujutsu Kaisen volumes, and now it's so readily available to pick up, which obviously I'm not complaining about, but I think it's just so funny to see that I remember like just struggling to even get the early volumes. And then I do also have like a Jujutsu Kaisen fan book, but this is in Japanese. I know there is an English print now, but that was before. I did not think it was going to get printed in English. I don't know why I thought that, but yeah. And then up next we have Chainsaw Man 1 to 11. So this is part 1 complete, and so many thoughts. I think when I first read Chainsaw Man, because I actually started with the manga and not the anime, because this was another title that was impossible to get. I don't know if people like, once again with Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man was impossible. Like I really like kind of fell into like everyone trying to get it, so I tried to get like the early volumes of Chainsaw Man, and I remember reading it and thinking it was like alright. I didn't think it was that crazy, but the more I read it, the more I fell in love with Chainsaw Man. And then I watched the Rizen movie, and that really made me fall in love with Chainsaw Man. of course I love Chainsaw Man before, but that really like solidified that I love this series, because the movie, the way it adapted that it was insane. Like, I remember reading the manga. Rize was like one of my favorite characters, so seeing her animated was insane, and it was so good. And I'm just so scared to see what happens next, because I love the characters. I love Denji. He has to be like one of my favorite main characters. I think he's a really good example of kind of like that pervert main character trope, but done well. I tend to not like that trope, but he's one of the exceptions, just because of the way he's been designed, in the sense of like he's never experienced love, and that's the only kind of love he's ever been exposed to. That's the only love that he's ever wished for. But then you see, as he becomes closer with other characters like Power and Aki, he realizes there's other versions of love and all of that. And oh my gosh, can I just say, the amount of edits I see of Denji, Aki, and Power make me so sad. Like, I miss that trio so much. I am so scared to see the snowball fight animated. I don't know how I'm gonna feel. Like, I know I'm gonna cry. I was already like crying when I was reading the manga, so I'm so scared. But yeah, I really love Chainsaw Man. I'm glad it's as popular as it is. But yeah, it's crazy once again that like this was a series that was so hard to get, but now it's so readily available. There's even a box set now. Wish I got the box set, because I think it's really cool, and I think it came with like a poster or something. But yeah, have Chainsaw Man. If you're wondering why I don't have the second part yet, honestly, I'm just waiting until it reaches near the end of Chainsaw Man before I read the rest. I have read like parts of part 2 already, but not like completely. And because honestly, I only got like 1 to 11 once it was complete. So I want to do that for part 2, just because I think Chainsaw Man is really best read like all at once, rather than in like waiting a volume, because it's really fast paced and a lot happens, and there's not that much dialogue. It's a lot of just like action scenes and like a lot of like using pictures to convey what's happening rather than through the dialogue. So it's very quick to go through them, so I think it's very easy to forget what happens until you read the next volume or you reread it. So yeah, but Chainsaw Man is honestly a series I believe that you will reread multiple times and you'll notice something new every single time. I think that's how well done it is, especially with the art and just how each of the panels are. It's amazing. I cannot praise Chainsaw Man enough, honestly. And then we have Kaiju number 8. I just have volume 1. I really enjoyed this first volume. What I really liked about the shonen is we have an older main character. I think he's like in his 30s, and we're seeing like a different side, in the sense because he first starts off as like the cleanup crew. So essentially what happens after like everyone like does the battles and fights all like the kaijus and stuff, who does the cleanup, and he was originally part of that. So I think that's a really cool part, because I think in shonen it's so easy to just see all the like battle scenes, more exactly who does the cleanup and all of that, like the more mundane things. So I think that was a really cool aspect to show, alongside the fact that he's a lot older. Similar Chainsaw Man vibes, because he ends up becoming like part kaiju because of an incident, and it's him trying to just like navigate, because when he was younger he wanted to become part of the team that like defeated kaijus, but he was unable to. So growing up, he ended up only being able to really work in terms of like the cleanup. But then you see after him becoming like part kaiju, he's able to change his career and do what he wanted to do when he was younger. And this was a really good first volume. I do have a few more volumes that I just have not read, but I do want to continue, obviously. But yeah, I know there's an anime. I don't know how well received the anime was, I can't lie, but I did really enjoy the first volume of Kaiju number 8. Up next, we just have 2 series. So we have The Promised Neverland. I have 1 to 20. Every time I look at this like title, I get so sad, because I think of what it could have been. The Promised Neverland is like it had so much potential. I think definitely at the beginning, season 1 of the anime was insane. So I watched season 1 of the anime and I fell in love with The Promised Neverland. It became like my top 10 favorite anime of all time, and I really fell in love with The Promised Neverland and like in the fandom and everything. I made edits, and then I picked up the manga because I just couldn't wait. And I think I started picking it up because there was a sale, and also because season 2 of like the trailer came out and everyone was so disappointed because they ended up skipping so many parts of the like manga. So I ended up picking up the manga to read it, and it is really good until it hits a certain point. I think the downfall of this manga especially was the fact, from my understanding, it was going to be cut off multiple times because of low sales. However, it didn't. And I think that really became like the downfall of like, there's so many parts of the manga that just randomly feel off, or is not as cohesive as like the beginning. And so it like starts off really strong, but then it becomes a lot weaker. And I will say, it did one of my least favorite tropes, volume 20. So honestly, the ending felt very bittersweet in my opinion. It was not a fully happy ending. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, I get so sad because I feel like there's so much potential for this manga, and the hype that this series had was like crazy, and it's sad that like essentially it has no more hype at all anymore. And then we have Komi Can't Communicate 1 to 17. So this is a really popular series, and I really enjoyed the manga. I enjoyed the growing romance between the two. I thought it was very cute. However, to me, it felt like the story was becoming a bit too repetitive. It was the same like comedy, like, or attempted comedy. I didn't think it was funny. Just same attempted comedy every time. And I just was like, I was getting kind of bored of it. However, I have just recently seen some manga panels, and I thought they were so cute that it kind of makes me want to like get back into this series. But there's so many volumes now. I think there's like up to 30 volumes. I was caught up with this series and now I'm like way behind. But yeah, I just think that the main part of this series, which is the comedy, is not that good. I think it's just very lackluster. And the part I really enjoyed, the romance, I think actually gets focused more in the future, but it's kind of on the back burner of what I've read from these volumes. But yeah, so that's why I actually haven't really been continuing it, just because I'm not even sure if I want to continue it. But I have seen the romance develop quite a bit, and I'm very interested to, and I do want to see how that progresses. I will say I really did enjoy these like volumes. I think the way Komi Can't Communicate did the love triangle was really well done in my opinion, because it's so easy to see like shonen series when there's a love triangles to pit the two girls together, but this is one where the girls were also friends and they just happened to fall in love with the same guy. So you see that like communication between the two, and I really enjoyed that. But yeah, so that is the end of this shelf. So we're on to my final shelf of read manga, which is all of my torn manga. So first we have Blue Period 1 to 9. Blue Period is one of my favorite mangas of all time. I love this series. As I've said before, with Salad Days, I love series about like pursuing passions, especially within art. And this is an art manga about this guy. He was a delinquent, not really like sure of what he was going to do with his life. He was very much like in the mindset of, I'm just going to get good grades, go to a good college or university, and then just get like a 9-to-5 office job, until he sees a painting, falls in love with that painting, and really get inspired to do art. And he decides that he wants to pursue it as a passion, and it's so good. Like really seeing him go through the trials and tribulations of like wanting to be good at art, especially like when all of these people have like really developed their skills and he's just beginning and wanting to really like pursue it, but not getting good enough or not knowing what to do exactly. And it's I really feel connected to these characters. Like all of the characters feel like real people to me, which I really love, and it's why I love this manga. It's just such a well written and well done manga. And even with like the art aspects, you can tell it's very like well researched. There's a lot of, sometimes there is a bit of like just like info dump about some like information about like the color wheel and all of that, but it does make sense because it is an art manga. But don't be deterred thinking that just because you don't do art or something you won't enjoy this. I really enjoy this. It's so good. I think it's just always so like interesting to read about someone trying to pursue their passion and like what that truly means, especially with art, where a lot of times you hear a lot of people just say like, oh, you're not going to make any money, you're going to be poor for the rest of your life and stuff. So I really enjoyed Blue Period, and I have watched some of the anime, but I stopped watching it just because I didn't think it adapted the manga that well. For me, the pacing was just a bit too fast. But I also watched the live action movie, which I thought was really good. But yeah, I have cried a few times reading this manga because I really like some of the quotes and some of the dialogue really resonated with me. And then next I have Blue Flag 1 to 8. I think this was a very popular title in my opinion during like COVID time, like during the TikTok like manga era of like 2021. This was a very popular title, and I just fell for that, and I picked up the series and I really enjoyed it. It's just a coming of age story, LGBT. It's a love square. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I know there's a lot of complaints about the ending, but I like the ending. I think it's just because it's a happy ending. Everyone gets their happy ending. Obviously, I wish it was expanded more, but I think it's just a really beautiful and well done coming of age story. Next, we have Maggots of the Library. This is a series I praise, even though I've only read one volume, but I think it's generally a series that did a one volume so well. I really fell in love. As you can see, I did like tab a lot. This is a series I tab, but it's really a story about books, and it feels very much like a love letter to books. And I think one thing that really blows me away is the art. It is so incredibly detailed. Like, do you see that? Like, it is insane. Like, you really gotta sit there and admire it, because it feels like you're doing it dirty if you just like look through it and then skip through it really quickly. So you're just sitting there admiring the details. It is amazing. I really enjoyed this first volume. I know the releases are quite slow, and oh, I just realized this is based on a book. Did not know that. But maybe I should actually check it out, because I really enjoyed this first volume. And I keep on saying I need to get more volumes, but I think it's because I know the releases are quite slow. I'm just like, do I want to get them now or just wait a bit? And then up next, I have a GL. This is one of my favorite GLs. This is Whisper Me a Love Song. So I have 1 to 4. And this is just a really cute like love story. It's very like fluffy, and it's really based on kind of like a misunderstanding, because this underclassman tells this upperclassman like, I fell in love with you at first sight, and obviously she perceives that love to be like a romantic kind of love, but then it's found out that she doesn't really understand like what's the difference between like a platonic love and a romantic love. So there is that bit of discussion of what is love, what does it mean to really be in love. But I think it's so cute. It does some of my favorite tropes in romance, and I really love it. I think I really just fell in love with it because my expectations were quite low, but they were like, it blew me away just how good it was. And then up next, I have Sachi's Monstrous Appetite. I only have the first volume because I don't know if I'm going to ever continue this series. It's just like, I don't know, it just is not that great. It's about like this girl who has like a big appetite, and then she's like part monster or something, and it's this guy who's like in love with her, and so because she always loves to eat, he like cooks her food and stuff. And I thought it would be kind of a cute premise, but I don't know, I just did not really enjoy this one. I think it was like hyped up, like people were praising this series, and I got excited, and then I read it and I realized like that kind of series is just not for me, and it's not targeted for me. And then up next, I have Blue Lock. I only 1 and 2 because these are the only 2 I've read physically. But I will say I've actually read, I think I've read 200 chapters of Blue Lock, because this was before it came out in English, and then it came out in English, so I stopped reading it digitally, and then I went to the physicals. But even the latest physical copy is not caught up to what I've read, so I'm just waiting. But yeah, so I know a lot of what happens in the future, and I talk about it a lot with like friends, and I got in a bunch of spoilers. But yeah, so if it wasn't obvious, since I read 200 chapters, clearly I really love this series. It's so good. I started with watching the anime, and then I got into the manga. So I watched season 1, and then once season 1 ended, season 2 wasn't out yet, and I couldn't wait, so I ended up just reading all of Blue Lock. That was out at that time when season 1 ended, and yeah, it ended up becoming one of my favorite series of all time. I love Blue Lock. I think another part of why I love it is the soccer's fun, but I really just love the characters. If it wasn't obvious, I tend to really enjoy series that with characters that I like. If I feel like there's characters I can connect to or really like, I tend to enjoy that series a lot more, even if the plot is not that great. But yeah, so far I've only read 1 and 2 because I've actually have not read like what the manga covers of season 1. I just skipped when I read the manga to whatever happened after season 1, and honestly, knowing what happens in the future, like knowing what is going on, which is a lot more exciting. When you read like season 1 again, or like what covers season 1, it's not as fun in my opinion, so it's just kind of a drag to go through it. As much as I love Blue Lock, I feel like it's a bit of a drag to go through. I really just want to read the stuff that happens later on. And then after, I have Yakuza Fiance 1 and 2. So this is something I read digitally before, and then it ended up coming into print. So I was really excited, but I really enjoy this. As I said before, I love like Yakuza stories. So this is a prime example of it. It's super good. I love the character designs especially. Oh my gosh, the art is amazing. And we have like a strong female lead who doesn't take shit or crap from anyone, especially the guys. And it's really interesting because we have a male lead who's definitely not a straight up like green flag. He's definitely more like a red flag. Like he has some issues going on, but it's really nice. If you want a bit of a more mature read, I would recommend this. I will say it is like some of the things they do and like the actions, it's very hard to believe that they're in high school. But yeah, it is like an arranged marriage setup, if you're wondering. And then up next, I have Until I Meet My Husband. So this is the manga. This is based of a autobiographical novel. I do want to get the novel eventually, but when I was gonna pick it up, it's just was not available anywhere. So I don't know when I'll get it, but I do want to read the novel because I really love the manga. I cried because obviously this is a very like thought-provoking and like thought-provoking story about a gay man's real life, like how he navigated being gay, especially in Japan where it's a lot more conservative, and how he still was able to find love and happiness at the end of all of that, despite having doubts and feelings of like never feeling like you'll find someone. And it was honestly beautiful. I really enjoyed it, and I don't know how well the manga does at adapting the novel, but I've heard a lot of praise for both. So I'm assuming it does a pretty good job, but I would love to read the novel to get more insight and thoughts into like the author's thoughts and stuff. And I will say this volume is really nice quality. Like the pages are really nice. But yeah, it's a very beautiful and thought-provoking story. And then up next, I have Tokyo Revengers. So I do have 2 of the English volumes. So I have 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 of the omnibus. I've actually read all of Tokyo Revengers, so I've read the entire thing, which is why I'm not in a rush to pick up the volumes, because I've read the entire thing, so it'll just be me rereading the story. But I used to really love Tokyo Revengers. I think it's just because I haven't consumed a lot of like the fandom, like media and stuff. I think a lot of people who used to be into Tokyo Revengers have moved on to other fandoms, so I'm just not as into it as I was before when like Tokyo Revengers was at its prime. But I really love the anime. I watched the anime, and then once again I started reading the manga after the anime because I just could not wait. And I was heavily into the fandom. I really enjoyed reading like a bunch of fanfics and stuff, and yeah, I just really love Tokyo Revengers. And even if I don't talk about it as much, or I don't collect the merch anymore, it will still hold that like special place in my heart. And one day I will get the entire English print of Tokyo Revengers. And I know there's a bunch of like side stories and like alternate universes and stuff which I actually have not read, and they are printed in English, so I will probably read those in the future to go back to Tokyo Revengers, because honestly sometimes I miss like prime Tokyo Revengers when everyone was like in love with this series. And then up next I have A Man and His Cat. I have 1 to 4. So this is a really cute story about a widowed man who ends up adopting a cat, and this cat was not ever loved before because it's considered like ugly, but it's not ugly. It's like such a cute cat, and then he ends up adopting him, and it's just their day-to-day life. But there is like, since the man is widowed, there is that exploration of grief and dealing with losing your partner and stuff, and it's very like bittersweet at moments, like reading those. But then you see how this man and this cat both found each other and really like helped each other overcome those difficulties and just their love, and it's so adorable. I love it so much. I'm a sucker for any manga about cats, and this is just a beautiful one. I just wish I could pick it up like a bit quicker, but volumes are quite expensive, even though they are quite high quality, but they are quite expensive, and the volumes are not that big. But I really hope I can catch up with the manga because I really love it, and it's one I've actually recommended to my friend who really loves cats. And then I have The Girl with the Sanpaku Eyes. I just have the first volume. This came out quite a while ago, and it's just simply about a girl who has like sanpaku eyes, and she's in love with her classmate, and it's just her trying to talk to him, get to know him and stuff. It's a very simple concept. It's just very like 4-Koma-esque. It's not like, there's no extravagant plot. It's quite cute. I think right now it's just like I'm not too interested in continuing it. Maybe in the future. I just felt it was like very cute. It is full colored though, which is really nice and rare to see in a manga, obviously. But yeah, it was a cute read. And then up next I have just some Japanese volumes. So first I have these haiku anthologies by, this is not like by the actual mangaka, this is like by artists, and it's just like different stories about like the haiku characters and them in high school and just their day-to-day life that's outside of volleyball. And it is quite cute. There is a few ships throughout, but yeah, I just liked having these because I wanted like any haiku merch, and I thought this was just a really cute piece of merch to have. I got those off eBay. And then up next I have The Guy She Was Interested In Wasn't a Guy at All. So I started reading this manga digitally, and then I wanted to support the mangaka, so I bought the first volume. And it's crazy to see how big Green Yuri has like gone, and I'm really happy that a Yuri has got it this popular. I feel like it's so rare. Like, it's mainly we see like BLs that get like this much hype, so it's really nice to have a GL that has reached this level where there's been like so much hype for it, so much release, so much merch, and I am not complaining. I'm very happy. I really enjoyed this series. It is like about 2 girls who end up forming a connection through music, and we're following her, who's like popular in the sense, but she feels like she can't share her interest of like music because it's so different from what her friends listen to, and the only person she feels like she can really talk to is this worker at this music store, and she ended up forming a crush thinking that the worker is a guy. However, she finds out the worker is actually one of her classmates who's actually a girl, and yet they still form a connection. I really enjoyed it. So I've read what's beyond released of the physical prints, but I stopped myself from reading any more digitally so that I could just read it physically. But I have seen some spoilers of what happens, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to read that. But yeah, I just have the first volume because after I got this first volume, I think a few months later, the English print was announced, and so there's no need for me to pick up the Japanese releases. And then just random, I have a Genshin like anthology. I was really into Genshin, so of course I wanted like any Genshin books. But yeah, that is the end of all my read manga. That took a long time, but I'll be surprised. But I'm just gonna quickly go through my like unread manga or manga that I am planning on rereading. So for now, I just keep it here, but I will eventually move this or give it its proper spot because it's right now just where all of my like just regular books are. But I am planning on eventually making this shelf like entirely manga, and I'll probably put all of my books on the further shelf to the right. But just quickly going through them, I have A Man and His Cat Volume 5, Blue Lock, I have 3 to 5. I was planning on finishing these before the end of the year, but I just could not get myself to read them. I got distracted, I got into some other series, so I ended up not being able to read them. And I got volume 15. The reason why I have this is because if you bought volume 15, you got a Shikishi board, and I really wanted that Shikishi board, so I just bought it. Then I have Villains Are Destined to Die 1 and 2 of the manhwa. I've actually read a lot of the manhwa. I read beyond what's been released physically, so I'm just waiting for it to catch up before I read it, so that would be a reread. Then I have A Stepmother's Marching. This is another one I've actually read digitally, and I think I read, honestly I didn't read all of it. I only read I think up to like chapter like 50 or so, like around there. And then I was like, because I was getting really into it, I was like, let me just get the physical prints. But yeah, so that's why I have that, and I just have not continued, unfortunately. But eventually I will get the rest. As I just said before, manhwas are expensive. Up next, I had The Guy She Was Interested In Wasn't a Guy at All. I do have the first volume in English, and I picked this up because it has the Kinokuniya exclusive, because of course I wanted to get this before it would go out of stock, so I just had to pick this up. And then I have In the Clear Moonlight Dusk, I have 1 to 3. This is by the same mangaka who did Daytime Shooting Star, but this is like I think one of their only works that is like not an age gap. But I really enjoy this. I read some of it online, and then I decided to pick up the physical volumes, and I'm pretty sure this is also getting an anime. And then I have Neighborhood Story. I actually want to get into this, but I bought this because this is the Kinokuniya exclusive, because I knew I wanted to read it eventually. I just don't know when. So I decided to pick this up. From my understanding, this is a prequel to Paradise Kiss. Pretty sure. And that's one I want to get into. Honestly, I just want to get into all of the mangaka's work because I love Nana so much. And then I have Waterkoi. I have 1, and then I have 6 because I wanted the Kinokuniya exclusive. But I have watched the anime. I just have not read the manga yet, so eventually I'll get into it. And then I have some Danmei, so I have Thousand Autumns and Remnants of Filth. I just have not read these because right now I'm in the middle of reading the Husky's White Cat Shizun. I'm waiting to finish that before I get into these Danmeis, but I know this is set in the same world, so I'm ready for some heavy angst, let's say. And then I have Acid Town. This is a BL that I was really excited to start, but then I found out it's actually been on hiatus for quite a while, so it has kind of put me off from starting this, but I will start it eventually. And then I have Moriarty of the Patriot. I have 1 to 5. This is like one of my favorite animes, so of course I wanted to read the manga, but I heard the manga is actually like the sequence of events from the manga and the anime are quite different. And then I have Kaiju number 8, 2 to 4, so I do have more volumes of this that I just have not started. And then Love of Kill volume 3. I Cannot Reach You Volume 2, Bungo Stray Dogs Volume 4. The reason why I have so many of just like these one volumes is I'm very much a binge reader, so I like reading a series in its entirety rather than reading one volume at a time and like waiting like a few months to read the next volume. So I would rather just pick up the entire series and then read it all at once, than only just like one volume. And then my oldest series that I still have not read, Nameless, Astrum 1 to 3. I got these for really cheap. From my understanding, it is a GL love triangle. I really hope it is, because that is what I want out of this story. However, there is 5 volumes, so I'm planning just picking up 4 and 5 and then reading it. And then Imikoi 1 to 3. I've had this series for so long and I've still not read this shoujo. But yeah, I'll get to it eventually. And then I have Chainsaw Man Volume 19 and Kingdom Volume 1. These were gifted to me by Viz, and I have read them, but I just want to reread them and give them a proper reread, because I was on a bit of a time crunch, so I did just like briefly like read through it. And then I have Aruharu Ride. I watched the anime. I thought the anime was alright, but this series got really popular during like COVID times, and I kind of just fell into the hype of getting this manga series, but I don't know if I will continue it. And then down here we have a lot of my shoujo titles. So first we have the Nana 25th Anniversary Edition. This is another title that was gifted to me by Viz, which I am very grateful for. I do wish I could have gotten the Vivian Westwood one, but there's no way for me to really get that here in Australia and get it for a good, decent price. And then I do have 1 to 10 of Nana. I just want to get the rest and then read it, because this is already what's been covered by the anime, so I already know what's going to happen. So I just want to get the rest and read it all at once, and I know I'll love it because I love the anime. And I have Yearn of the Dawn. I do have 1 to 26, so I have read 1 to 3, but as I said before, I do want to reread them. And this Yearn of the Dawn, as I said before, has actually already ended, so I'm planning on just picking up the rest and then just reading it all at once. I am more motivated to read it just because there's the new anime coming out, and the manga has ended. And then I have Kami-sama Kiss 1 and 5. I really love the anime, so I do want to eventually read the manga. Another instance of I'll just pick up all of them before reading it, because I know I love it because I love the anime. A Condition Called Love 1 and 2, I have technically read those since I read the like online, like digital, so I have read up to like volume 10, so those would just be rereads, but I haven't read the physical copies yet. And then Lovesick Ellie, I have 4 and 5, which are not in its correct order, but yeah. So that is the end of my collection. So that is the end of this very, very long video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you made it through, honestly, congratulations and thank you so much, because I don't know how you went through a lot of my like incoherent rambling. I just really wanted to give my thoughts about each series and how I really felt. But yeah, I feel like this year was definitely not the biggest manga year for me, so a lot of what I'm talking about is the same as my 2024 collection, but I hope you guys still enjoyed. I can't wait to see how my collection looks in 2026, and this will be the last video I release for 2025, so I just want to say thank you guys for all of your support. It genuinely means the world to me. I don't think you guys realize like how much your comments, like reading your comments, especially when I get a comment, I get so happy, and having like conversations with you guys within the comment sections is one of the highlights of my days. I really enjoy just talking about manga, and I'm so incredibly grateful for each and every one of you, especially that I'm able to continue making videos where I can just really share my love of manga and anime, and I can just show you guys my day-to-day life, and you guys care about that. So I just want to say thank you guys so much. It's very cheesy before we hit 2026, because as I'm filming this, it is the 31st of December. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope I'll see you guys in 2026. I have a lot of videos planned for next year already, so I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I can't wait to see what we'll do then. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.